Hey, we are live. It is Sunday, April 23rd. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can check the description and the timestamps will be below. So you can find your readings or you can go to the channel message, whatever you'd like to jump to. So hope you're doing great. And we will wait for people to show up for this live here. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Good morning. Good morning, baby doll. Good morning. Megan, great to see you. Hey, how's it going, Devin Collins? Hi, what does your logo mean? Where is the symbol from? Yeah, so that's a channeled symbol from a modality I channeled through and was receiving way back when, like quite a while ago actually now. I ended up I did end up teaching that, and I did end up teaching that modality. What's the best thing for me to say here about all of that here? Because I was going to say some more information there, like, nope, don't say that. So what would be highest and best for me to say here? But I would just know it's like an energy healing symbol. It only works for the highest good. It's really good for getting to the heart of things for the highest good and like healing things, or like drilling to the core of an issue and shifting it for the highest good. And it can do more as well, but it's a good general energy healing session or symbol, excuse me. How are you doing? Great class yesterday. I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing? And I'm so glad to hear great class yesterday. So glad to hear it, of course. Can you invert the camera? Yeah, that is usually my preference. Let me find it. Let me find where they moved it. Excuse my noises as I... Okay. Come on, print. Here we go. Okay, now you can read sign. And, whoop. Much better. Whew, good morning. Hi, I'm new here. Hi, how's it going? Let's see. Hey, Brandon, how are things? Is this a general message? Hey, how's it going? Yeah, so these are going to be general readings, and then we have a channeled message at the end. Usually, like a full channel mode message as well. So I'm not doing well, maybe we'll see if they have me do it, but well, right now they're like boundaries. So I don't think I'm going to be doing like the one-on-one like Q and channel day thing today so much. Oh, thank you, Carissa. Well, yeah. Thank you for the compliment, Carissa. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm always so helpful. And yeah, hopefully this is very helpful for you as well. Always my intention, of course, for the highest good. So I'm going to give it like a second, but we're going to jump into a collective reading in just a second here for everybody here. If you can read this sign. Getting this set up is such a, well, it seems like a narrow window, at least with the phone. Good morning, Angie Brown. Okay, so we're going to start the readings. So the way I typically do this for anyone new here is... Oh, thank you, Kitchen. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced this. Kitchen Bound Lex. Oh, got it. That means a lot. I'm so glad to hear it. So I hope this is at least as great for you. So, okay. The way I typically do this is I do a collective reading, and then we have readings for each of the... zodiac elements by sun, moon, or rising. So, sorry, sometimes when we get a lot of people here at the beginnings, I just feel like a lot of, so there must be someone here who's just like, or sometimes people get a little bit angry in the viewers, and I start to feel a little bit weird when that happens. And sometimes they don't have a good reason to, but anyways, I'm going to just start the collective readings. Otherwise, I'm just going to like bumble around here. In this intro. Hey, everybody. Yeah, so glad to see you. Hey, Andy Pandy Pie. Awesome seeing you here. I know there's so many awesome people who show up on the Sundays, so it's good to be here. So, here we go. Right now, circling the square is how I'm going to indicate that we are on this reading. So, for the collective, so this is just for whoever is seeing this whenever they're seeing it, whether you're watching it here live or on YouTube. Let me see how they'd like to start out here fully for that. Of course, I've got channel messages that came through ahead of time, and my spirit guides, the angels, and source will bring through any additional information that's for the highest good as we go through these. So the first thing that showed up, and they keep telling me to start with this as well. Sometimes they'll bring through a different message as I begin the reading, but they're like, no, talk about the steamroller. So the first thing I saw for the collective when I sat down to channel these messages was a steamroller, interestingly enough. So there were kind of a couple of messages with this one. And I feel like it might be a little bit different for different ones of you tuning into this. Honestly, the first message that came through is like, if you feel like you're getting steamrolled, you're actually going to be okay. They kind of clarified it as well as like there's a lot of elevating right now, so you might be feeling that. So what do they mean by, and they did kind of clarify some of you might be the ones doing the steamrolling as well if you really feel like you're crushing it. Pun intended by them, they're saying. But let's see what would be highest must for me to get to clarify this for you. So again, some of the collective here watching this might feel a bit more steamrolled just because everything's elevating so much. When that happens, it can like force certain things out of us, such as like darkness or negative energies or old mindsets, or just there might be old stuff coming up and out to be released so we can be more filled with light, if that makes sense. But there's a lot of elevation energies right now in general, so you might find that you're releasing. And anything that where it feels like it's life is steamrolling you or a circumstance in life is steamrolling. I mean, I kind of get this message pretty frequently or something similar to it, but I mean that if that's what's going on, I just channel the messages. It's like leading you to better, or it's removing things from you so you can have better, if that makes sense. And they keep showing me the example of like a rolling pin with like dough, and this might not be the perfect example because typically when you're rolling pinning something, you're not trying to get something out of like the dough, but in this instance it's like rolling it out, if that makes sense. For those of you who feel like you are the one doing the steamrolling in like a positive way that's for the highest good, I would just keep going and stay on a roll, honestly. There is more with this message though before we move on here. Because the next thing they're showing me, I'm not sure why we're in this construction vehicle kick today with this reading, but the next thing they're showing me is a dump truck here. And they're just showing like in these dump trucks, there's a lot of like garbage and like trash or like scrap metal is kind of what they're talking about. The words they're showing me with this are garbage is leaving, which really fits hand in hand with what they were saying with the steamroller, where there's just like a lot of trash being hauled out of you essentially, or I don't know why they're kind of having me use the word like us, like me included. It kind of seems like with some of these messages as well, but us, I guess. So honestly, I'd be patient with yourself if you feel like you're being steamrolled, or you feel like things are being like flattened out of you, or you feel like a lot of trash is being hauled out of you. It's kind of like a spring cleaning, metaphorically. I know some of you are in the southern hemisphere, so it's autumn, but I guess it's a spring cleaning anyways. The other thing they're kind of showing with this message is like a lot leaving the solar plexus area for a lot of you. Maybe not all, but for a lot of you. And depending on your framework, that can be the chakra or area where like other people's stuff kind of conglomerates or gets stored. So we also have a lot, I'd say you also have a lot of being pulled out of you that's not yours that you need to release, whether that's ideas or mindsets or concepts or energies or anything like that. The other thing they're kind of saying for you guys right now is that your path is coming. So if you've been feeling a little bit lost or lost at sea, or hopefully not all of you feel like life is beating you up, but if in some ways you feel like life has been beating you up, I feel like it's also preparing you for a specific path that's going to be showing up in May, is what they gave me the month May. So probably in the next couple months, like May or June. So if you feel lost, you're going to have a new path soon, which is really good. Also, if you feel like you've been resonating with the steamroller message, you feel like you've been steamrolled, it's not going to be forever, is what I'd say as well. It's like it's a temporary thing. Things do get better. So hang in there is what I'd say for you as well. I don't know why they're also on this dough rolling thing, and why I don't know why we've been on this message for so long either, but what's going on? What else is there with the dough here? The other thing, we kind of already touched on it, but the other thing with dough is like when dough is being rolled out, it's being prepared for something. So if you feel like a lot's being squeezed out of you, or you're being flattened metaphorically, like with the steamroller and rolling pin, metaphor and things like that, I feel like you're being prepared for something big. And whether it's really soon or it's a while, I don't feel like it really matters, because again, it's not going to be like awful forever, but you might have a new path that's really big that's coming, and again, the universe is just trying to squeeze all the stuff that doesn't belong out of you. So the next message, which really fits with what we just went through as well, or what, went through as and delivered the message on, people are being stretched right now. So you might feel the universe is stretching you a little bit, but it is to help you grow. They're showing me the concept of eustress, which is like positive stress. Like there's the, I forget the other term, but there's the kind of stress that's like beats you down and you probably don't want too much of it over long periods of time necessarily. But then there's also like positive stress that like grows us or keeps us, I don't know if keeps us strong is the right way to say it, but there's like going to the gym and lifting weights and you're getting stronger. And then there's like, I almost want to make the joke typical adulting stuff, but there was one, I think it was a study or just something I remember reading about in a couple of different places where these scientist type people, I'm about to go on a tangent about how people on the internet always use the blanket term scientists to try and make their point more, to try and seem like their point has more weight, whether it was just like a random actual scientist or something weird, or sometimes people stretch the truth a little bit with that. But anyways, I digress. There were these scientist type people, I guess, who did this thing where they grew these trees indoors in a building, and there was no winds nor no outer elements really. Like these trees, allegedly, the scientists thought had like a perfect environment. However, the trees, when they grew up, couldn't support their weights and would kind of fall apart because they didn't have any like winds buffeting them that would otherwise strengthen the trees and provide that eustress that would make the trees like stronger and able to bear its own weights through kind of the flexing or whatever would happen as the tree hit those positive stressors. So I feel like it's more like that. Like if you're being stressed right now, I feel like life is actually growing you and it's positive. And if you feel like it's bad, it's not going to be bad forever, is what I'd say. I feel like a weird pit in my stomach from some of you, where maybe it's like you're like, no, this is way too hard and bad. And I'd say like, yeah, maybe you have some of this and a little bit too much going on, but take it as it resonates, is what I would say. And I don't mean to make fun of you with any of that. It's just, I think some of you were like, I'm going through way too much for this to be positive stress. I understand. Take it as it resonates. Next, there's a bit more with that though. And again, they want to stress it again. Like if you are being like really stressed, you might have something big coming that you're being prepared for or grown towards. Next, they show me an eagle, which shows up, I know, a lot for some of these readings, but with eagle spirit animal showing up here, the message was about increased freedom. And there might be more with this as well, but there is more freedom coming for everyone here, whatever that means to you. And this might be over time, might not be tomorrow, but it could be just like that frequency showing up in more and in different ways, but that frequency is coming in. So everyone's being taken higher so we can have a higher timeline. Okay, they added a couple messages into that one that I guess they just snuck that one in. So everyone's being taken higher so we can have a higher timeline. I feel like that's kind of an important message. It kind of encompasses a lot of what we're talking about right now. So I don't know why I'm getting this weird message, but sometimes timelines diverge and we get like way higher than we thought was like possible or was going to come in. And I feel like that's the world right now, weirdly enough. It might not seem like it. I know there's like all this scary stuff, it seems, as per the news and things like that. That might not slow down, honestly, but it doesn't mean the timelines aren't elevating or that we're headed to something good after all that, or that's not part of the plan in some way to make things better, if that makes sense. But I do feel like that's at least happening, things going to a higher timeline for you personally, for everybody here. That's one of the big themes today for this reading. I mean, for you whenever you're seeing it, if you're watching on YouTube, but is what I'm getting as well. That's also part of why certain things might seem stressful, because again, things are being worked out of us. I guess I need to say that 10 times today, but as far as like the freedom that's coming in, for some of you, it could be money, probably not all of you. For others of you, it's like maybe you're quitting. And again, it's going to be different examples for different people, but you might be quitting a job and like you find a new one that has a more flexible schedule, or you're leaving a certain business behind that's been like sucking away all your time and energy, so you have more freedom to pursue your passions or other passions or things like that. So, and the other thing they kind of showed as I was reading this message to you guys was like the freedom cracking. It was weird because there's like this, you know, those metaphors or stories or songs or things people say where it's like the light cracks through something, where you know, there's like a crack in the rocks and you're trapped in a cave, and then yeah, I don't know, hit the wall with a pickaxe and the light shines through because there's a crack and you're like, I'm almost to freedom or something like that. Because they kind of showed freedom like peeking in between the cracks of like these rocks or crevices or something representing that. And the other thing they're kind of saying is like you might be getting tastes of freedom so that you'll move towards it more. And what does that mean, or what could that look like? Maybe you get like a day off of work that you weren't expecting, or like a couple, and then you come back and you're like, oh, that was so nice to have a couple of days off. Like, I can't stay here or something like that. And you know, sometimes we just get that for a rest and we probably should stay. I'm not saying to jump out of your job if you don't have something like lined up, by the way. I'd try to be smart about things right now, unless you're intuitively, you know, trust your intuition and knowing on these things, of course. But sometimes we'll get a taste of something, so we'll move in that direction instead of staying stuck. And I feel like the universe is kind of doing that for some of you regarding this as well. Maybe not all, but whatever. Anything else with that before we move on here? We're going to move on. The next message, they show me the color orange. Usually when orange shows up, or they show me an orange, it's about like the sacral chakra and like emotional balancing. So one message, just as a reminder, is that grounding could be helpful for all of you, especially if you've been feeling a little bit emotionally unstable or out of sorts. This might sound a little bit, you know, typical, but grounding, getting centered, taking time for yourself. What's this message? Because I don't know if taking a break from reality makes sense as a message, but let me sit with what they would really like to bring through on this one. Just make sure I'm getting the right thing that'll be helpful for you here. I feel like taking a break for yourself, or taking time for yourself and taking a break from like the typical day-to-day reality could be really helpful and bring a lot of clarity for you guys. I'm going to tell you about this whole thing because I feel like it'd be really helpful for you guys, at least some of you. But there's a book, and it's by Lee Harris, who I'll reference a pretty good amount for anyone new here, or I seem to. He's a channeler that I like a lot of his work. He has a book called Energy Speaks, and in this book, it was so interesting because I've had this book for years, and I recently flipped to this section, and I'd never quite like seen it before somehow, and I don't know if I was just flipping around or what happened, but it's this thing that, well, it's all like taken from a lot of his channel material over the years, but there was this thing that he channeled through. It was like the self-love challenge, and literally, I mean, and by the way, if you don't have that book and you feel called to it, I do recommend it. But the self challenge was pretty simple because it was, you know, 3 hours out of the week for 3 weeks straight. You just take time for yourself. And there were some more like caveats or details to go into. Like, for instance, like a lot of the recommendations were like, okay, do something creative that you enjoy. Like if it's painting or poetry, or get out in nature and go for walks is like a big part of it. And like, make sure your phone's turned off and like, you're not like super accessible to other people necessarily. So it's really time for yourself. And there were a lot of really positive benefits that they lined out with that exercise, and that I also noticed when I, you know, actively participated. And it's like, one, you kind of just get a lot of realizations and like clarity and just knowings on things that are going on in your life. Two, like you might have certain things like come up as you move towards this intention and hold this space open for loving yourself and for taking that time for yourself. You're kind of creating that, but it can also move some of the things out of you, or move some of those energies or help you release some of the things or areas or times where you haven't been as loving to yourself, or notice things in your reality that weren't loving to you, if that makes sense, and start to release things from that, like a job that was really brutal, or but you kept yourself in that job, you know, or things like that as examples. And I'd recommend something similar to you, and whether you take that specific advice or just hone it in a way that's different for you, that works for you. I kind of want to say this as well because it's popping in, but one of the lines that Lee's guides said in that book as well is like, if you can't carve out 3 hours for yourself, whether it's like 30 minutes 6 days a week, or maybe you have 2 days off, you can fit 3 hours in one day or across those 2 days off or something like that. It's like, if you can't find 3 hours for yourself, you're almost in a form of energetic slavery to other people. And it'd be pretty good to examine that and potentially shift that in some way. And I know I'm on a pretty big tangent with this, and this collective reading is a bit longer than they normally go, I feel. But if that's what's needed, that's okay. But all that to kind of spell out and add on to and give an example of, I suppose, taking time for yourself is going to be really helpful for you guys right now, whether that's resting or doing whatever you feel called to do with that time for yourself. It's going to be very helpful and reorienting, I feel. Plus, you'll get a lot of clarity. So keep that in mind, and that could just be helpful for emotional balancing. Anything else on that before we move on here? They're also kind of talking about the root chakra as well right now. Kind of a strange message, but there's a lot of restructuring around the root chakra for a lot of people here. About like 90% of you is what I'm getting. So I feel like grounding is going to be helpful for that. Or if you feel like things are shifting around like stability wise, that's part of what's going on, is just like root chakra shifts or healing to the root chakra. And you don't have to take it super literally. You could take it as an example of what's going on. If they don't like what I'm about to say. They don't like that I'm playing this in different ways. I was going to say, like, if that's not your framework, like, take the essence of the message and see how it's showing up is what I'd say. But what they're also kind of talking about is sometimes like our energy centers or areas around the energy centers, and you don't have to take it literally, by the way, but whether it's the areas of life correlating with them, like they kind of become like a theme for like the collective or for some of you, and like it restructures, and like a lot of the things in your life regarding that area restructure. But it's all like an upgrade and a reshifting for the highest good. So I feel like for at least some of you or a lot of you, that's happening with the root chakra and that area, but it's very healing. So that's good. And they keep showing me like a sprout out of the ground with this as I am delivering this portion of the message. So you might have a lot of new things birthing regarding the root chakra. What does that even mean? Like new forms of stability or new ideas that could bring stability, or just like less fear, or the realizations that bring you to like a sturdy, strong self, if that makes sense. So things like that, if that makes any sense. Or it could just be physical manifestations around you that correlate with the root chakra being upgraded, which is a positive thing. Next, they showed me a zebra for the collective, and they just said, this was a little bit of an interesting one, but the phrase they gave me was being called in unique directions. And then they said, not everyone's going to be on the same path. I don't know why some of you need to hear this, or maybe a lot of you, but some people are moving in wildly different directions than they used to, and that's okay. Try not to keep everyone in the same place, but let things evolve. People have unique paths that are coming their way, and the people, and also the people around them. So things are not going to be the same as they used to be in the past. And this could happen with like the elevation, or like I'm also hearing timeline shifting along with this as well. I feel like a lot of you have unique callings. And even if it looks similar to other people in some ways, like it's unique is what I'm hearing. And I feel like that's being activated more and more and more as time goes on. They're showing me the year 2024 and 2025, 2026 as well. Maybe they're kind of adding those like next 4 or 5 years or 6 years in there, weirdly enough. But this is like a time where our unique calling is activated like more, and we get more clarity around what that is and move in that direction. One, because the phrase I'm hearing is that the timelines are open for that to happen, if that makes any sense to you. Two, it's what the collective needs, and as a way I've heard it before, and a way they're having me say to you guys as well, is we own our own like puzzle piece of the collective of what we're meant to do here, our soul mission, the impact we're meant to have on this earth. It really impacts the collective as well as above, so below, and not just the collective here, but the entire collective, of course. And the more you're called to that and honing in on that, the more you're helping the rest of the world get to that and own their unique purpose, and the more you're going to have an impact. I hesitate to say this, but they're also saying like, even if it seems like smaller than you would like, And of course, for some of you, it's bigger than you realize. And I also don't want to limit you and pigeonhole you into think that your purpose is smaller or isn't big or isn't grand or something like that. Because I never want to encourage anyone to play small. I encourage you to go as big as you feel called to in your heart and soul and desires, all of it, of course. So don't play small because I said that, please. But regardless of what size it is, it's going to be important that you're owning your unique value and your path and not trying to make your path look like someone else's or not trying to make other people get on the same path as you necessarily either. But everyone kind of let everyone go in their unique directions, whether a friend group splits up, which I don't necessarily think is going to happen for all of you, because I was kind of feeling that, but then they said, don't get too far into that, or they kind of indicated not to get into that as I started saying that. I don't know. What I'm hearing is a sentence to say to you is just know that your unique path is coming and it's going to be great. Let everyone shift and go in their unique ways. And if you lose people, you'll get new people in, if that makes any sense. So I don't know who needed to hear all that, but hopefully that was helpful there. Next, they show me a gorilla. Typically when gorilla shows up, or gorilla spirit animal, it has to do with strength in some way, shape, or form, because, gorillas are beefy boys and stuff like that, but they have a lot of muscle. Anyways, it was kind of about, they gave me the phrase collective strength, and the message is that, some strength tests might be on the way, and they're kind of bringing it back to that positive use stress for the trees example earlier. But you can handle any strength tests that the universe brings your way. I also feel like it's going to be much easier than before if you feel like you've had some before that wrecked you or anything like that. And, if you've been doing your work and working on yourself, it's going to be more of a cakewalk is what I was getting as well. I feel like some of you are getting some strength tests because you desire something big, whether it's a dream or an ambition or a target for yourself or a certain level of success or something. And sometimes it takes a certain level of strength to have that, whatever it is you're moving towards. Here's the thing. I'll channel the messages you guys need, whether sometimes it doesn't necessarily line up with my beliefs, if that makes sense. Because to me, I would say the universe is all knowing. The universe always knows if you're ready. The universe doesn't need to test you. It's why would it test us when it already knows? Yada, yada. But I'd say the tests are more for you and more a stepping stone to that level, if that makes sense. And it might even be more of an are you ready, but for you, if that kind of makes sense with some of the strength tests and things like that. But a strength test is really something that's just preparing you for the future, is what I'm hearing, is kind of a meeting in the middle, but between those two frameworks is what I'd say. I feel like if you're doing your work, you're going to be ready, though. So the last phrase they gave me, and I didn't really get, I think I moved on and did a bunch of other channel messages before I fleshed this one out, but I also get that was by design. I think I'm just supposed to channel this one in the moment. But they gave the phrase wishes and dreams, and then let me see what they meant or wanted to talk to about with that one here in wishes and dreams here. So I don't like this message, but if this is what's happening, this is what's happening. Sometimes we have wishes and dreams. And again, as we move towards them, kind of on a similar note, we get tested a little bit, or a little bit of a pushback. And the question is are you ready? Or are you ready for what comes with these wishes and dreams? For instance, maybe the example I get is maybe you want to be a big famous music star, but maybe there's a lot of potential BS in the music industry, potentially, I'm not trying to put this on you, that comes with being a big famous music star or movie star or whatever, or something like that. And maybe you'll kind of get a heads up or a taste test of some of that BS once you can recognize it and avoid it in the future, or learn how to navigate it in the future. But two is is this what you really want kind of thing as well. What my recommendation for you that I get is I would push through it and keep moving towards it. And this could be a smaller dream as well. It doesn't have to be, a big famous music star necessarily either. But I don't know. The other examples that jump in are maybe you want to date someone who's really super attractive or something like that. But really super attractive people also get a lot of attention from people who are into that gender or type of person, you know. So you might have to, you know, I guess I might just choose a gender just to be able to get this out of my mouth more easily. So it doesn't matter what gender, but, you know, or non-binary, doesn't matter. Maybe you want a really attractive boyfriend, but, you know, your friends and all these other people are like, oh, they're so gorgeous. Oh, they're so cool. Oh, they're so funny. And you have to like kind of deal with like, oh, can I handle all these people like giving attention and potentially having that tension of them maybe trying to pull away on this person that I'm really attracted to, or this thing that I really desire, and things like that. So the strength test could be something like, can you handle that? You know, if that makes sense. Or you get a taste of that. So you'd be like, okay, I see what that's like. I see like what, if any triggers that brings up. I know how to work through this now. Now I'm ready. And then the universe hands it to you, or something like that. Just an example. It could be slightly different than that, but yeah, I understand what I'm saying. So that's all they wanted to talk about with the collective readings, what they're telling me. The other thing they're talking about with wishes and dreams, and I never just want to like throw this around or say things, but anytime I don't go with the channel messages I'm getting, I'll rewatch the readings, and like, you know, these readings are meant to be for whoever shows up and watches them. That's always the intention, of course, no matter how many people. And sometimes I come back and watch the readings for myself. And every time I come back and I watch a part of my reading where I dialed it down or said something besides the actual channel message I got, I'd be like, no, the channel message I was getting was fully like accurate for what I was going through at the time. I didn't need to like try and talk around it or change it to try and, you know, just in case or anything like that. So what I'm hearing is like big dreams are coming. What does that mean here? For about 50% of you, I feel like big dreams are on the way, whether that's down the road or it's really soon or what have you. And it's a different time frame for each of you. For the other 50% of you, what I'm getting for this is you're getting a new dream that's really big that you need to move towards, is what I'm hearing. And I know need is a weird word, but I just say what I'm hearing. So, and it checks out, I'd say at least typically, but I have not, 99.9% of the time, if not 100, it checks out. And you might feel called to not go towards it because it's big. But the other thing they want to mention is, what is it leading you towards if it's a big dream and you start to take action on it? And I'm not saying you're not going to get there, but regardless of whether you get there or not, it could lead you to an even bigger or slightly different dream. It could give you a bunch of lessons and wisdom and or knowledge and skills and abilities that lead into the perfect thing for you, even if that dream doesn't happen to be it. Because there's always another dream, you know, somewhere down the line, if a dream that we're heading towards isn't ultimately for us in the end game. Does that make sense? And it doesn't mean you won't get to your dreams or that they can't happen, or it doesn't mean give up on your dreams because it may or may not be for you down the road or any of that. Like, keep heading towards it. There's a reason you feel called to what you're called towards. There's a reason you have the desires you have. And sure, you can examine them for like, why do I have these desires? And maybe that changes some things. But usually there's something the universe wants you to head towards, or I don't think it's always this, but sometimes it's like something the universe wants you to look at in yourself and change. But I'm hearing a weird message for you guys who are showing up here right now, like to see your dreams as like a code for unlocking your life. And like heading towards your dreams as a way to do that, because of all that comes up. And I'm not saying all this crap comes up all the time when you do it, but because of all that comes up and you go through to go towards your dreams, you could see it as a self-development tool. And then if you get there, and I'm not saying you won't, because it's highly possible. And I feel like now is a good time to head towards your dreams in general. I feel like it's been a very common message recently with the readings. I just feel like you're going to get something really good out of it, regardless of whether you get all the way there or not. And I'm not going to limit you and say you can't get all the way there. Sorry, I'm kind of saying the same thing over and over again. So I think I need to move on. But that's kind of it for the collective. The last thing they're kind of showing me is, again, they're kind of going back to like they're showing me garbage. I don't like, well, it doesn't matter what I like or don't like. What's the message that would be helpful for you here? again, there's this reminder, and this could be for those of you who showed up later in the reading and didn't hear this message earlier, but there's a lot of just trash being hauled away. I feel like there's a lot of trash being hauled out of your way. I'd be like pretty patient over this next week or so from whenever you're seeing this, honestly. Maybe even the next month. I know it's Mercury in retrograde as I'm filming this. I'm not sure if that's going to apply too much regarding this message. Because I know there's all these messages about like moving towards things and moving towards these and moving towards things. And I would still, but sometimes when there's a lot being hauled out of the way, it's tempting to just like move towards. But the universe is like, hold on, we got to move this thing out of the way, or hold on, we got to move this other thing out of the way. So be a little bit patient with this time period. I'd keep working on yourself. Move forward as you feel called to or intuitively guided to, I'd say, and trust that. Because there will be a big time of forward movement coming in again. We still kind of are in a time of forward movement, but we're also dealing with a lot of being moved out of the way at the same time. So be patient is what I'd say. And just know that you're being brought to a bigger, stronger, wiser you. If there are any like strength tests or trash that you're dealing with, if that makes sense. So, okay, hope all that made sense and was helpful. I feel like there's still one more thing. My gosh. You know what? I'm going to close it because they're saying to close it. So I hope that was helpful. Did whatever was for your highest good. Hello to all 187 of you. That's awesome. So honored that you're here. So cool. We're going to move on to the fire sign, Sun, Moon, and Rising. That was a collective reading for whoever was here, by the way, if anyone was wondering. And anyone, if there are any moderators in the chats, I want to send some love to Trash is the perfect way to say it. Perfect. Hey, Prince Priestess. You guys are so welcome. All of you guys. So, and anyone helping to keep newcomers or anyone else that's just showing up in the middle of the readings up to speed in the live with what's going on. I so appreciate you and so appreciate any of the moderators here helping everyone. So thank you so much. And yes, helpful. Perfect. You are so welcome. So give me 1 second here. Oh my gosh. I feel like drawing on a whiteboard that is horizontal. No. Perpendicular to you, I guess, right? It's Mercury in retrograde words. But I feel like that's a particular skill. I feel like it's a different skill. And so I feel like teachers, in school out there are probably really good at that skill. I feel like they've had to practice that, but maybe not. I'm just joking around with that one. Okay. So if you have a fire sign, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this is for you when you see it. My first time and everyone has been awesome. I honestly, the people here in these lives are so cool. Like the people who show up every week, and I appreciate the people who show up here so much. Fire! Love it. No, I appreciate the people who show up here so much. So many of you, I mean all of you, sure, are just so cool, and I am very blessed and appreciative that I very rarely get people who are in here being nasty or awful. And if they're there, I guess I'm usually focused on channeling and doing the readings, so I don't see them. And I'm sure someone else, like a moderator, takes care of them, which thank you, by the way. But no, I so appreciate all of you here and how cool you guys are, and tend to be here. So thank you. Anyways, so fully flight's good. Let's move to the fire sign, Sun, Moon, or Rising. And of course, if you're here live, it's for you now. But if you're watching on YouTube, it's for you whenever you see it. But I've got channel messages that came through ahead of time. And of course, my spirit guides, the angels, and source will bring through any additional information that's for your eyes good as we roll through these. It seems like we have a lot to roll through here, but we'll see how much they add in on top of it or how long this takes. And I'm here for as long as it takes, guys. But the first thing that they'd like to bring through for the fire signs, this is really interesting. They're showing like a chef with like a grill, and he has these like golden like cooking tools. He's like it's not from SpongeBob, I don't think, but there's like a golden spatula, but there's also these like golden like tongs, or I don't remember my grilling tools right now, but there's a stabby thing with like 2 prongs, I think. And I can't remember if that's a grilling tool or a fireplace tool, but regardless, it's showing up, so it's significant somehow. So let me see what the message is with this here. I feel like you guys are getting the tools you need to succeed or getting an upgrade to your tools to help you. What do I mean by that? It can be your tools to tackle life. Like maybe there's like a number of different ways we could approach this. Excuse the pause. So you could see a tool as like a way of dealing with something. You could also, sometimes I kind of quantify like Reiki or like an energy healing modality or as like a tool, or you could maybe even see your intuition as like as a tool or something like a tool you utilize to accomplish something. Or, you know, and like if you go to like see a therapist, they'll talk about like, here's this tool to cope or deal with this situation or things like that, you know. There can also be, I've really only heard this more so from a really cool practitioner. She's great, actually, that I've gotten some readings from, and she's one of the people I go to if I ever feel like I need a reading. But she'll talk about this concept called, like, I don't know how much they want me to get into this, so I apologize, but etheric tools. And so I'm already kind of in it, so I'll talk about it. And I'm unless my guides really want to redirect me, let me see. I'll talk about it really quickly. Like she'll do a reading and she'll be like, okay, I'm seeing this like energetic tool with you. And she'll kind of talk about, and her name's Anna Anthony. Her Facebook is Anna Synergy Healing. If you ever want to reach out to her for a reading, she's phenomenal. But you know, not to take away from anything I'm doing or anything, but anyways, she might do a reading and be like, oh, I'm seeing this tool and it's like a, I don't know, it'd be like a golden microphone, for instance. And it's about like how in a reading she would do, it might be something that you're working with etherically that helps you to speak your truth really easily or know and speak the truth for someone, like just automatically. It just spills out of you. That's just totally an example. I'm pulling that. They're kind of helping to bring an example so I can talk it out. But, and I actually don't feel like these golden spatulas are that. So all that for that. But you're getting an upgrade for your tools and ways to approach life. I also feel like you are upgrading. I feel like your intuition could be upgrading. There's a lot about you that's upgrading. I feel like you're going to find it easier to tackle life and to know things. And here's the thing, be able to cook the things you need to cook in life metaphorically. So like you might have an easier time cooking up new situations or manifesting things or having the conversations you need to have with people to get things done. I'm also getting this message for you that like ineffectiveness is leaving. And so you might just find you're more effective at creating change, at, again, I'm hearing this example, like having the conversations you need to have or moving the energy in your life. I feel like this has been something you might feel like you've been sorely missing, at least some of you, where like you just kind of feel like you'd try things and it would kind of like wouldn't work out or would flop, or you'd like try to like set a boundary, for example, or have a conversation with someone and they just like wouldn't get it, and it like might kind of change things, but it wasn't like getting where you'd want. It's kind of like a fish out of the water. Is usually not very effective because they're just flopping around unless you're one of those fish that like has lungs and you know flops across the road. I forget what kind of fish that is, but even then, you know, you'd probably typically rather be in water. You're just going to be more effective, which is fantastic. I feel like that starts now, if you haven't noticed it, or very soon. It's interesting because a grill did kind of show up for this reading ahead of time, but it's more like halfway through all the messages I have for you. I'll read it because they're telling me to read it. So the other thing that came in different message with grill is that the universe has been cooking you a new path for a while. I feel like you're going to finally start to see that. They're saying like eclipse into your life. And we just had an eclipse, didn't we? So you're going to have a new path. It seems to be kind of a message that comes through every now and again with these readings, but many people around you will as well, which I know kind of ties in with the collective reading. They said the collective cannot keep going in the direction that it has been. Things must shift. So they tied that one in for some reason as well. Snuck that one in as I was channeling this message, but they're correcting me and they're like, we didn't sneak it in, we blatantly added it in. So, okay, they blatantly added it in, like a hammer for the highest good. And it's really interesting. Some of you might have already seen the shift, or a lot of you, but it's almost like things cannot continue as they are. Certain things can. Don't feel like everything's going to fall apart, please. It's not. But just like the general collective and you, I feel like just something needs to change, or I don't feel like it's going to be snap in a bad way, but sometimes we're in a situation, and I don't feel like all of you are going to totally feel this, but for those of you that hang in there with me, it's like something kind of needs to give, or like it's going to be for the highest good, hopefully, like snap, like so things can like move, kind of like tectonic, am I saying this right? Tectonic plates, like in the, when they like shift and like there's an earthquake or something, and it's like everything kind of needs to change around this earthquake. It's kind of like there's just like pressure and something needs to give. And I feel like if it does, like, or when it does, like you're actually, if this is resonating for you, you're actually going to be on the right path, if that makes sense. Like it's going to shift you into like, I'm getting the weird message, like the perfect life for you right now. Doesn't mean well, here's the thing. Doesn't mean there won't be challenges. I'm going to tell you a quick story, because I feel like I've watched readings before. They don't want me to get into this too far, but the reader would say something along the lines of like, oh, this is going to be a really good period. But then they kind of like switch up and be like, oh, it doesn't mean there won't be challenges. Doesn't mean da 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 da. And it would be really interesting, because I'd feel like the reading and what was going to happen energetically as they were talking about it. And as they said, like, this is going to be a really good period, it's like, that's what was coming. But as they'd say like, oh, it doesn't mean there won't be challenges, all of a sudden that energy was kind of added into it as well. And when that period of time they were talking about happened, I noticed that it's like, okay, yeah, things are good, but I'm noticing that edge that showed up when they said doesn't mean there won't be challenges was also like, I almost want to say like manifested. And like, here's the thing. I think a lot of reading, good readers are going to be in tune and just channel what's there. And I don't know if this is really a good topic for me to get to, because I feel like it could start to create some interesting things as well as I talk about it. But sometimes it seems like it kind of manifests, right? In some ways, sometimes it's just there. It's what's going to show up. It is what it is. Sometimes it's kind of like that energy wasn't there before, and then they said it, and then it's there. And you're like, wait a second. Maybe this didn't have to have challenges. And here's the thing. I don't want to encourage, there's that term like spiritual bypassing and things like that. So again, I think sometimes it's like, it can be a little bit irresponsible to just promise there won't be challenges. And that's not what I'm trying to say with this. But I think sometimes we can use our words to create something a little bit better or different. And so the thing I kind of started to say is like, I'm not going to promise things are going to be perfect, but I'm not going to limit it and say it can't be either, is the way I try to say it, to kind of open that possibility of less, especially unnecessary challenges, if that makes sense, or unnecessary things not being perfect, I guess. All that being said, I'm not going to be irresponsible and promise there won't be challenges. However, I feel like if something has to give or snap, like it's going to lead to something really good, or at the very least, it's the perfect path for you, whatever that looks like. So, the other thing I'm getting to say to you is like, if you're trying to like hold on to things really tightly and keep things from changing, I would kind of let go and like let things change, because it's going to change into something really good is what I'm getting. Like that's the direction it's trying to go. And I know sometimes we get like attached to things, or like an outcome or a person or a situation in our life. But I feel like the universe is trying to hand you something better through the changes, or something like snapping. And I don't mean you're snapping, please, by the way. It's tempting to hold on, because we're like, oh no, this thing has been really good. This thing's been really good, and it's giving me this, and things like that. And maybe it's better than a situation you've had before, is something they want me to bring in. I've heard someone else say that phrase, but they're having me bring it in again. So to you guys in this reading, and it's time to let go and just see what good the universe would like to bring in its place. Sorry to beat that one to a pulp, but let's move to the next message, shall we? And you know what? All that being said, this actually moves perfectly into one of the next messages I'd like to get to, because the message they said is meant for greater things than your current circumstances. So there is a lot that's trying to elevate you beyond your current circumstances. You don't need to do, for this message, you don't need to do anything. You just need to realize that there's something better for you, pretty much. And I feel like if you have to take action, like you'll either be guided to, or feel compelled to, or that will come in, or you'll know that. But so it doesn't mean don't take action. But I feel like the important part of this message is just realizing that there is something greater for you than your current circumstances. The other thing that says, like, to add on to this, higher pathways are available and will be made known to you soon. And they said in the next month or two, could be 3. You can be a little bit stretchy with the time frame, but not very, actually, is what they're clarifying, which is fine. But weirdly enough, what I'm hearing for this Mercury in retrograde, and I know, if you're watching in the future on YouTube, it's for you when you see it, so it will apply regardless of what time frame you're in. But this Mercury in retrograde kind of is about better pathways in a weird way. It's also about letting go, and letting things shift, even though it's Mercury in retrograde are some of the things I'm hearing for it. There could be other things, of course, but if you're willing to bring in a higher pathway and let go of things and let things shift, I feel like you're going to be very happy, especially in the long run and maybe even in the medium run. And even if you have to grieve something you let go of, which won't be a major thing for many of you, by the way. Like I don't feel like it's going to be a major grief thing for many of you. You're just going to be much happier in the future than like trying to cling to things, of course. The next message is, again, we already kind of talked about this for the collective, but they're bringing it in again for anyone who needs to hear it, I guess. They gave me the message higher roads. They just said the collective is upshifting to different trajectories. So this is a very common message for the fire signs, by the way, this specific topic. But the collective is upshifting to different trajectories. You're going to have a new path and many people around you will. The collective, I already read this one. I'm so sorry. So let's go back to a different message that if that's not Mercury in retrograde, man. So the first thing they kind of brought through for you, they're showing me, actually, they're redirecting me to a falcon. This has been a very common message recently, but they're giving me the message about things speeding up. Falcons are some of the fastest birds. I believe they can dive bomb at like 212 miles per hour or something ridiculous. That could also be a sign for some of you who like resonate with that spirit animal or that symbolism. I feel like for some of you, things have been going fast, but they're about to be going like faster. And I know just because it's a dive bomb doesn't mean things are going down. In this instance, it's just about the speed. So I feel like if your life has been shifting quickly, it's going to be faster. And now they want me to read this message here. There is a collective healing hitting the fire signs right now. There might be a lot that's like unveiled to you, around you, and within you. You're going deeper in releasing trauma and lower energies. And they're saying that's a very important message for a lot of you as well. And I feel like right now there's a lot of truth telling, are the words I'm hearing. This could apply to other signs as well. I think there were other signs that had a message about truth. And man, there were a couple like months last year where like every single week for the lives, they bring through a message about truth for like almost every sign. And sometimes we're just in that time period. But if you're telling the truth to others, to yourself, to colleagues, in a way that's aligned and feels light to you and you're intuitively guided to, I feel like it's going to make things better in the long run. Maybe it's uncomfortable sometimes, like admitting a truth to yourself about someone or something, or hearing a truth or telling a truth to someone, but it's very encouraged is what I'd say. I feel like it's going to really help you out here. For some reason, the other message is like, you're just going deeper into a healing. I feel like you're actually going to be out of it soon for most of you though. It's not going to be like you're going through this for 10 years or anything like that. Woo. Okay. So anything else I would be asking for us to get to for this reading? A bat is showing up, and it didn't show up ahead of time. What's up with this bat here? They're showing me how the bat has like sonar. Sonar is not the right word, is it? I can't remember the word, guys, but echolocation. Thank you. Bats have like echolocation. And I don't know, this is a very strange message, and I'll see if they explain it more, but you might feel like you're not seeing very clearly, but you actually are. It kind of reminds me of, there are these tests that people did for people who, it was very strange. It was people who were either like legally blind physically, or like they weren't, it was something strange, like to them, they weren't actually blind, but something happened with their eyes or their brain or something where they couldn't see, even though like they didn't have a typical blindness. I can't remember exactly how it went. And I don't like that energy, so I'm going to ask that energy is out of here. But they'd have these people walk down a hallway, and I think they had certain safety measures in place so they didn't like die or, and trip and stuff. But the people would be able to navigate around obstacles in the hallway, even though they couldn't actually physically like see. It was very strange. And it was, I think the book I was reading was something about the subconscious mind. It was like all about subconscious stuff. It was really interesting. But I think the book was literally named Subliminal, but I could be wrong. I don't remember. And it's kind of like that, where it's like maybe you feel like you're not seeing or feeling things very clearly, but you're actually navigating things perfectly if you go on your hunches and your intuition, even if you're not sure. So I would just trust your intuition regardless. I feel like you're seeing perfectly well, even if you don't feel like it, which is a very strange message, but hopefully that's helpful to those of you who need to hear it. So the next one, they showed me corn, and I know corn sounds like a boring, like Midwestern thing, and but anyways, for some reason, corn, as it has shown up for me in other readings, can mean like a harvest, weirdly enough, because you think of the farmers grabbing all the corn. Anyways, they were showing me this visual of a farmer doing just that, like on their tractor. But there was like this gigantic, like golden corn that was, I don't know if any of you have ever played like the video game Stardew Valley, which I know some of you are super into that stuff, and some of you have not touched a nerdy thing in your life, which is, I'm cool with either of you, but so there's like these giant vegetables, and it's like a farming game, and there's giant vegetables, in certain areas that can happen. But anyways, he was moving towards this gigantic like golden corn, and like the message was like, you're getting a much bigger reward than you have in the past. I think like sometimes we only think we're going to get what we've gotten in the past or thus far for like past efforts. So we might think we work, really hard or on something, and we think we're only going to get like XYZ amounts, in return for it. Maybe it's time for the highest good, for you to, excuse me. Sometimes I just pick up on weird energies, and when I move my hands, I'm just like, shoot. And it might not even be anything bad. It might just be someone who's scrolling by. I don't know. But anyways, you might be getting something bigger than you typically get as like a reward or as a harvest for your efforts, if that makes sense. Or you're finally finding the things that are effective in bringing in the rewards in your life through your efforts. And you might be expecting like a little bit, but you get a lot more. So I feel like there are bigger manifestations coming, like this year is what I'm hearing, and bigger things showing up for your efforts than like perhaps before. If you've ever like tried to get something or do something, and it doesn't seem to show up, and it's very frustrating. I don't feel like it's going to be like that any longer. It's like a weird message. It's like you kind of move past that phase, but you haven't realized it, or you don't realize you can have a bigger harvest, if that makes sense. So you're moving into that phase, which is fantastic. And I feel like you're also learning what is effective, so you can have more in your life, and that's going to serve you very well. Here's a weird message for you guys. Sometimes half of life is effectiveness, is what I'm hearing. And finding what works and doing that, and really honing in on that is something they'd like me to say right now. And I feel like I'm slightly borrowing from, I'm just channeling what they're telling me to say. So don't worry about it. Me. Don't worry about it, me. Don't worry about it, you. Anyways, so anything else with this one? We're going to move on. The next thing, they showed me a giraffe, and they should go, oh my gosh, I can't even talk. Show me a path of light with this giraffe here. In this visual, they're showing me the path of light is kind of splitting into two here. I feel like you're on the right road, even if you feel like you're missing a lot of options or missing things that are passing you by or something like that. I feel like you're not going to miss what's for you. It's kind of what they're showing me. The other message they had when I sat with this message, and I don't know if this will be a fun message, but as I was kind of sitting with this giraffe and like what was going on, this giraffe kind of looked at me and he's like, they were saying, you guys have been ignoring something. So bear with me for a second. The message was that came through ahead of time, and I'm going to ask for clarification. They said, you might be ignoring something or have been ignoring something that like, you need to do, or like putting something off, or ignoring something you've been called to do. And it's like, there's like something you need to do to like move forward on your path, or you need to move forward on your path that you really feel called to, and not neglect it, or at least like put some attention on it. Like they are meant for greater things than normal. So I feel like this is encouragement to actually follow your dreams or the path that's in your like heart and soul, or that you've been feeling called towards. Getting this example, like maybe you've been feeling called towards like, I get this example now and then. Maybe you work like a desk job and you've been really feeling called towards like shamanic healing and like, or Reiki or some type of healing work, and you've been like really ignoring it or putting it off, even though you could be doing some of that right now and like it could be really helpful for your circumstances. They're saying like at least put some attention on the things you know you need to do or came here to do or feel in your heart and soul and you have a yearning for in your heart that you're here to do or feel called to do, if that makes sense. Even just like a little bit, because you're kind of cracking things open and allowing some more like life and energy and breathing room for that thing to expand in your life, instead of like, oh, I don't have time right now, I need to focus on my, which I totally understand, by the way, focus on like my job, or you need to focus on XYZ thing. But it's like, in reality, like you have an hour a week you could dedicate to this, or you have some time each day or week you could dedicate to this. So don't neglect the things that are important to you that might not seem important right now, that you're kind of putting off, but that actually are, because they're important to you, if that makes sense. Even if society would say they're not important, or it seems irrelevant to your current circumstances, if you need to hear that. So next, anything else with that here? But beyond that, I feel like you're on the right path, which is good here. Next, I'm going to skip that one because they're telling me to skip that one. The next thing is, we kind of already talked about it, but they showed me a cactus and they just said, you're kind of healing from everything that's like stuck you guys. And I definitely would recommend putting extra attention on your emotions and triggers, you know, to begin to release them. And they also said, if you are triggered, there's a reason, like there's something to release there or something to examine there. If you've been triggered a lot recently, I feel like that's going to go away soon, but I'd still would just like put a little extra attention on yourself and like some of those triggers that are coming up as they're coming up, you know. But I do like the message that, you know, you're healing from things that have like stuck you or kept you from moving forward or kept you from having what you desire, or just stuck you and kept your life miserable, even if it seems self-inflicted, is something I'm hearing, which is really weird, which could be a result of like trauma or things you've gone through. So don't beat up on yourself, but I'd stay aware and work through it. So this message comes through pretty every now and then, but I'll bring it through as much as it takes and for whoever needs to hear it, however many times I need to hear it. But they showed me like a Dalmatian, like a spotted dog. And it was about loyalty, as often comes up with dogs. And again, the message is to stay loyal to yourself. Never give up on your dreams for another person or job or anyone. Like, you are worthy of success. So I think sometimes it's tempting to give up on something that's really important to us, or that's a dream for us, because we really love someone and maybe we're afraid of what they'll think of us, or we're afraid of what will happen if we go towards our dreams. Like, oh, am I going to lose XYZ person? Is it going to change my relationships or this friendship or this job or whatever? And it probably will, but it could be for the better. You know, after all said and done and the things rearrange after you change your life and the frequency shift, it could just shift that relationship in a way that's better for both of you, honestly. But I would stay loyal to yourself and your dreams. And it's not like a message where you need to like punch everyone in the face because you're like, you're in my way. But it's like, no, you don't have to do that. But you get the message, like, stay loyal to yourself and don't give up on your dreams for another person. It's not worth it. And, you know, sometimes relationships shift and change anyways. And, you know, you might be with someone for 10 years and it's freaking, and I'm not trying to limit your relationship. Sure, it could be the rest of your life, but you might be with someone for 10 years and it's great, but then you break up and you're like, I just held off on my dreams for 10 years and this relationship was great and I don't regret the relationship, but I could have been working towards my dreams this whole time and let the relationship go how it was going to and fit around that or adjust to make space for that anyways, whether I lost this person or not, because it didn't, you know, for whatever reason in those 10 years, maybe it didn't work out anyways. So it's important to stay loyal to you and not put your life on hold for another, for anyone who needs to hear that. Because you never know what's going to change in those areas anyways, is what I'm hearing to say. And again, the next message, they really honed in on it more. They just showed me a golden path and said, don't stray away from your dreams. So I feel like all the past, well, at least 3 of the 4 past messages were kind of about that. So I feel like with the fire signs, there are very big thematic things we've been hitting on from potentially slightly different angles through this whole reading. So it's just like, you're meant for greater things in your current circumstances. Stay loyal to your dreams. Seemed like pretty much the main cruxes for this one. So I realize it took a second to get through all the messages, and hopefully you found them all helpful and it wasn't too redundant or anything like that. I also just get this last message, like, and we kind of already talked about this with the golden corn and all that, but you're getting more than you bargained for in life. Again, like, you might think things are going to stay like quiet and simple for you for like a long time, or things are going to stay the same for a long time, but excuse me, and this isn't a bad thing, but there might be more than you bargained for as far as like changes or manifestations or adjustments or things coming in, which is, I actually feel like it's a good thing. I feel like it's a part of the right path. So just roll with it is what I'd say. But I also want to say, don't get too accustomed to things staying the way they are right now. Like, maybe they will for a year, but not forever is what I'd say. And you don't have to freak out about that message, because it could be things are getting even better. But I feel like you need to hear that. So keep that in mind. I feel like that's it for the fire signs. Of course, there's like some other things we could touch on or get to. But I feel like I've already been doing this live for a long time, which I'm okay with. Anything else before we move forward that would be important for you to hear and helpful for you to hear right now? Just a quick reminder to make sure you're clearing your energies every day or doing something to do that. I feel like that would be helpful. But beyond that, we're going to move on. And of course, if you have other placements, you'll have other readings that are for you. And you might, if anything repeats, it could just be an important topic for you. So that's it for the fire sign, sun, moon, and rising. We're going to move on to the earth sign, sun, moon, and rising. I'm going to take a second to like maybe drink some water. Other than that, we're just going to move on to the reading. Excuse me. Okay. So we're just gonna jump. We're gonna dive right in. So Earth signs, sun, moon, or rising. This is for you whenever you see it. Thank you, Brandon. You're so welcome, Heather Vibes. Thank you so much, Carissa. I really appreciate that, and thanks for the feedback, guys, as well. I always love the encouragement of knowing you guys, this is helpful for you guys and helpful for you guys. So, and you know, if it's not helpful on some level for you guys, I don't know how much of a reason there is for me to be doing it. So, and maybe there's other reasons, but, thank you. Fire really resonated. Perfect. So glad to hear it. I love your TikTok so much. I love that. Thank you so much for telling me. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. So helpful. Perfect. So appreciate it. Always so helpful. Always, always, always part of the intention and aim. So, you know, and for the highest good, of course. So thank you. I super appreciate it. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for the feedback, guys. Really appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to the earth sign, sun, moon, or rising. So it's for you when you see it. Whether you're live or watching on YouTube, and of course I've got channel messages that came through at a time in my spirit guides, the angels and source, looking through any additional information that's for you guys good as I read through these. So they're showing me the moon very vividly as I start this reading, and there's also like fairies and kind of butterflies around as well, and they give me the term the rise of magic. I feel like that's exactly what's happening for you, is like more magic is being unlocked in your life. So that could be more synchronicity, more intuition. And I know there's different things that the word magic can speak to. So please bear with me on the semantics and just look at the essence of what's coming through. Please. I know there's so much different terminology and people use the same words for different things, and especially in like spirituality, and it can be really interesting to navigate that. But please look at the essence of what I'm bringing through, you know, for the highest good here. But so magic, as far as what I'm speaking towards, is like synchronicity, flow, intuition, channeling, manifestation, things working out, energetic potency, even like healing and things like that as well. I feel like you're finally unlocking that to a high degree, and you're just going to see it around you all the time. So it's almost like you're going to be walking the world in magic, which is a powerful, for the highest good, powerful place to be. I really feel like you're in your power when you're in magic is another channel message that's coming through for you, whether that's for you specifically or just in general. Because, you know, you can manifest more easily. You can know things and be more intuitive all the time. And that's a very empowered place to be, because what's the best way to say this? You're not always reliant on other people, or you're not just necessarily lost and bumping into things. There's like a million things I want to say to like clarify this further now. Another example I could pull from and bring to you is I remember watching a channel, again, from Lee Harris, and he was channeling, and this one for me was very helpful because it really spelled it out for me. It was exactly what I felt and knew, but the words were just so good with what, they said, what, that channeler brought through, where it was like, working with your intuition and having that on and using that to navigate in the world, whether it shows up as channel messages, however it shows up for you, whatever magic you use, that's for the highest good, of course. It's like having the light switch on in a room that you're navigating. And by the way, I don't want you to freak out if you're like newer to this and you're still working on your intuition, or you're still honing it in. Like it's okay. The universe will take care of you. You're doing your best. Don't freak out. But when you have your intuition like honed in, you're working with it, and you're using that to navigate your world, it's like having the light switch on in a room that you're navigating in. But if you're not, then it's kind of like walking through a room in the dark and you're bumping into furniture, you're tripping over the cat, which is a bad time. You don't want to hurt the cat, and you don't want to trip over the cat. It's like you're taking forever to like feel your way around the room, or you're walking too fast and like hurting yourself maybe even. So working with your intuition is kind of the way. And I feel like it's going to be the way moving forward for you if you're not already doing it. So I'd be working on that. But the good news is it's going to be easier as well. So that's good. In case you need to hear it, because it's jumping into my, I don't know if it's just like sometimes I'm just picking up on what, I'm just going to say it. But the fairies aren't like trickster energy or anything like that. I haven't really encountered trickster energy with them when I've worked with them. If anything, it's harmless jokes, if that makes sense. But I don't work with trickster energy. It's not around me is what I'm getting. So that's not what I'm talking about with that, in case you need to hear it. And I remember someone like emailed me a while ago, because I did a reading. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I did a reading for TikTok, and like this like great fairy kind of, or like fairy queen person being like showed up and was like helping deliver this reading for whoever was seeing it. And someone emailed me, and maybe you're here. They were like, you're one of the only, like, sorry, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but what they said is like, you're one of the few people I've seen talk about this, where it's like, you don't see the fairies as like tricksters. She's like, I work with them all the time, and they're like of the true highest light and helpful and for the highest good. And I feel like I need to be careful with this message, but as you get honed in, and of course, like if you need to set intentions, I'd set intentions to only work with that's of the true highest light, what's for the highest good for you to work with, highest infinite wisdom, all that jazz. I think that's a good way to go if you're at a loss, is set those intentions. But and I want to put some caveats out there, because there are some energies where my guys are like, yeah, never, don't work with that. Don't do that thing. Not worth it. But like anything lower, I'd probably recommend doing your best to stay away from. But like things like fairies, or sometimes there's people who have weird freaking information about angels. I'm like, you don't work with angels, because that's not what it's like with the weird thing you're saying there. But it's like, you kind of find that it's like, at least I've found a lot of it's just all of the true highest light, highest infinite wisdom, of true highest and most infinite source, especially if you're setting that intention and coming from that place. So like fairies aren't really tricksters, like they're really helpful. Or like some people will talk about like, oh, you need to be afraid of this deity because they will drop kick you into the oblivion if you move your left wrist wrong, if you're doing this ritual. And some people, that's their framework, and I don't want to take away from like the importance of ritual to them. What I've found is they don't care as I like talk to them and channel them. It's like more about the intention. It's more about coming. What's the best thing for me to say here? I feel like I'm going on a huge tangent, and I hope this is helpful for you guys. But I really haven't encountered anything negative as I set the intention. And even before this, I feel like what would show up for me in my spirit guides, it was just automatically fine, like and accurate and good. But setting the intention to come work with what's of the true highest lights, like that's what you're going to get, asking you will receive. Why am I talking about this? Can I get just a faster way to say this, please? For the highest good of whoever needs this. they're just kind of saying like, don't worry about what you're working with in the etheric, as long as like it's of the true highest light and you're setting that intention, it's fine. Even if other people tell you to be afraid, I guess, whether it's fairies or certain deities or angels or whatever. I don't know. Sorry to go on that tangent. Let's get back to the reading here. But all I was trying to say was that you have more magic coming in, and it's like the perfect way to operate for you. Holy heck. And with the phrase magic path as well, and I really apologize if I didn't spell that out all perfectly the way I was saying it, but hopefully you get the gist of what I was moving towards with that message. Like, you don't need to be afraid, especially if you're coming from a good place in trying to work with like what's of true highest and most divinity source or God or spirit, the light. You get it. Before I just get lost in a million different tangents, the next message I have for you here, they showed me a UFO for this message, and the message was that you are being uplifted to a new reality, which could go along with the magic path. I might be skipping ahead in the messages, so bear with me, but they just said you are being changed at a core level, and there is a huge rebirth going on for many of you right now. So for others of you, you're being set on a new path so that you can have a better reality. The message is actually pretty simple. I just feel like you're being elevated like timeline wise or reality wise, so that you can maybe even higher dimensional wise, if that's a framework you resonate with and makes sense to you, where you're kind of resonating at this higher dimension and a new reality shows up. I also feel like things might be working more easily for you. Like maybe in the past it was a struggle to manifest certain things, but when you're at this new vibration or reality, it's like easier to bring in the things that are of course of the true highest light and for the highest good for you to bring in. Whereas before maybe there was like struggle or like resistance or like things you'd have to move out of the way or like all this work. It might be easier to shift things like for the highest good, whether energetically or physically or anything. I'm hearing the phrase like more light and more magic. So both of those forces are working in your life. More light, more magic for the highest good, of course. Next message here, they gave me the phrase paradigm shift. Pretty simple. They just said the universe is like forcing your paradigm to shift. Sometimes we need to have like a paradigm shift. Never mind. I was going to say something. They didn't want me to say it. Switching gears. Sometimes a paradigm shift is necessary for what you'd like to bring in or what you'd like to have in life. It's like, for the example coming up for me is like for you to say, at least for this, and you can take this and apply it for whatever you are desiring, I suppose. But maybe you'd like to be successful and super famous or something. But you need to like look at it the right way for you to be able to sustain that or maintain that or have gratitude for it. And maybe all of that comes with it. So you can kind of hold it in your life more and not just drop it or lose it, the second you have it, if that makes sense. Some of you just need a paradigm shift in order to create what you'd like to create. And the universe is kind of like forcing that to happen. They're tying it in with the higher dimension thing as well a little bit, because they're giving me the words higher dimension as I say that. So the perspective shift could literally be you elevating your frequency and seeing things from that higher zone and seeing things from higher up. And I'm also hearing like it could be also you not getting lost in like the perspective of the crowd. Or I know I'm on TikTok, but other people on TikTok or YouTube or in books you read or things like that. And there comes a time where you kind of have to own your power and follow your own intuition, either along with the people that resonate for you and are accurate, or maybe you even need to go out alone for some time and just trust yourself and kind of lone wolf it a little bit for a time just to get more clear on what's true for you and how you work with the universe, and then just take what resonates from other people. I feel like following your own intuition is going to be the key, whether you use me to supplement or another reader or channeler to supplement or not. It's up to you going forward. I honestly, my wish for you is like, what is for the highest good for you? What is highest and best for you? I mean, my intention is never that. It's always like, what's for the highest good for all of us here, for all involved, for all, what's going to be fully accurate, what's going to be most helpful. So I genuinely pray, hope, intend that is what shows up, through all the work I'm doing with all of this. However, if any of you or some of you or one of you needs to go it on your own and just trust your own intuition for a time, I totally understand. And I don't want to take away from that experience from you if that's what you need at all. But it might not even apply to me in my readings. So getting lost in the opinions of others spiritually about what's going on in the world just might not be the right path or lead to that higher outcome that you're looking for. So I'd be gentle with yourself if you find this happening, but do your best not to get pulled around by others too much if it's not serving you. So next message here. And you know what? There are a lot of like readers or other people or in general who just say a lot of weird things like about spirituality. And you don't have to take things if they don't resonate, by the way, from anyone is what I'd say. And as you get more in tune and honed in and you get the channel messages, or you can read people and energies better, you'll know who those people are quicker and faster, to the point you don't even need to click on the video to find out in the future, by the way. Not trying to denigrate anyone, or I'm not trying to call anyone out or talk down to or about anyone. I don't know. I'm just trying to channel the messages that are coming through here for you guys. I feel like I'm on a million tangents, but next message here. The next message I actually really like for you guys. You are being brought out of the dirt, and they kind of showed this visual of you being like airlifted by the helicopter that showed up was like this, you know, the dual rotors. I think they're usually used in the military. They have like the two helicopter spinny things. I don't remember the terminology. And they're just kind of airlifting. They showed that airlifting you and like kind of moving out of the dirt, essentially. I just feel like the message that came through is the universe is bringing you to success. They're also showing a golden path for you. And I feel like you're on your golden path, most of you, or you're being brought to it. I feel like you just need to keep walking forward and putting one foot in front of the other, no matter how slow or fast. I feel like you're moving in the right direction for most of you. If you don't feel like you're moving in the right direction, I feel like the words I'm hearing are the universe is forcing you on it. And I'm not saying it's like against your free will necessarily, but sometimes when the universe needs to make something happen, it's going to make something happen. And sometimes you manifested it too, by the way. Maybe you went like, I desire X, Y, Z. And the universe is like, okay, but we're going to have to make this happen and close this chapter and shuffle this thing around to make it happen. And so once that starts happening, like maybe you even forgot you asked, you're like, hey, what's up? But then like the next thing comes in tomorrow and you're like, oh, never mind, I get it. So I don't know who needs to hear that, but let's move on. The next thing they'd like to say is kind of in a similar message. We did talk about more light as already with this message, but the light is like, there is more light. It's like forcing a lot out of you. So be patient with yourself right now, especially over the next month or two from whenever you're seeing this. Definitely the next month, maybe not two. Give or take a little bit. But again, sometimes when we have this like rise of like more lights, or the light's hitting a bit more strongly, and they're telling me to say this, I suppose, it just like forces certain things out of you, or things that don't belong out of you, or like goop, or like darkness, or whatever you want to call it, and it kind of lightens and brightens you up. And I feel like you've been going through that for a while, so I'd just be patient with yourself. I feel like you're actually going to come out of it soon, and like just be ready to embody more light with ease, which is a good place to be, for sure. So next, they show me a pig, and pig was showing up quite a bit a few weeks ago for some of the readings, and he's showing up again. So they kind of talked about how there are a lot of judgments around pigs, like, or like even like using the word pig on people, like people who are money hungry or gross or rolling in the mud, or what's the right way to say this? They're interested in people in an 18 plus way, or things like that. And I don't know, but the other part of that, the other side of that coin, is that a pig is actually a creature just like any other, with its own desires and needs. And how different is it really than any other creature on a certain level? So the message was to try not to judge yourself for what you desire on any level, whether it's 18 plus, or it's money, or it's whatever you desire, and whether it seems like a stereotypical spiritual thing, or a stereotypical earthly thing, or Christianity taught people to judge it, or society teaches you to judge it, or people don't like this thing. I don't know, and I'm not saying if you desire to go harm people, go do that. It's not what I'm saying at all. As long as it's like aligned and it's for the highest good, and there's actually not really anything wrong with it. Well, now we get into the judgment of right and wrong and not calling things right and wrong, which is such a dance to try and talk about and get these messages across. But again, try to look at the essence of what I'm saying and try not to get too caught up in the semantics. But can I please get the highest way to get this out for them? Please, angels, spirit guides, source here. You might have things that you desire that you judge yourself for, or that you think people would judge you for, but there's actually nothing to judge about it. And it's like a normal part of life. And as long as it's for the highest good and feels right to you intuitively, I would head towards those things anyways, and let people think what they want. And again, that's a very empowered place to be, of course, because then you're not trying to live your life based on the judgments and thoughts and opinions of others. You're just living your best life and enjoying what you enjoy. And there's the phrase I'm hearing is there's nothing wrong with that. And I hesitate. Never mind. Because sometimes I hear people use that phrase like there's nothing wrong with that, but it's very clearly something that they do. I'm like, are you just saying that to because you do that? But I don't know. I heard there's nothing wrong with it, so I'll say that. And I'm sorry if I'm calling you out, by the way. Next message here. Oh my gosh, what's up today? So there's this town in, I think it's New Mexico, or maybe it's Arizona. But I remember one time I took a trip well, it's a whole other story. But anyways, I was on a trip from like Denver to Arizona. And there was this town on the way called Truth or Consequences. Or was it Texas? I don't know. It was one of those like states down around that area, like New Mexico, Texas, Arizona. And it was really a message about truth. They just said you are being brought to more truth with grace and ease. It is a time for truth. Light brings truth and knowing. So when we have like more light, it can just bring up more truth and knowing collectively, and just like across the world, like things being unveiled or just more personal truth for you about yourself or others. But I actually feel like there's ease and grace with this aspect of it this time, is what I'm hearing, where truth is being unveiled with ease, and it's like much easier for you to stomach. Whereas like maybe before, like something would be unveiled, you'd be like, ooh, like it just feels like a gut punch. But there was something about you in your past, or how you used to be, or how you are currently, or something else outside of you. And I feel like you're able to handle the truth with ease right now, which is good. And perhaps for a while, because I'm hearing for a while. Next message here is that there is just so much more for you on this planet, and to never limit your experience or think that you've experienced all there is for you, because there is like so much more coming your way. It reminds me of like a story of someone who's only eaten seafood, I guess is the example they're bringing through. And they think seafood is all there is, and maybe they don't realize other foods exist, or I don't know, maybe they're a conspiracy theorist and think that all other foods are fake or something. It's a weird story that they're giving me for this. But then someone, and I'm sorry if you're vegan, please substitute with a vegan alternative if you don't like this. But then someone serves you a steak, and then you're like, oh, this is really good. What is this? And they're like, oh, it's a land animal. You're like, mind blown. I know that's a silly example. I don't know. But I feel like it's weirdly kind of similar, or is at least an example of what could be similar to what's happening for you, if that makes sense, where you think like this little area or slice of life is like all that's for you. And it could even just be like channeling or like spirituality, but then like art opens up for you, or music opens up for you, or something completely out of left field opens up for you, baseball, I don't know. And they're just saying to like kind of run with that and allow that more to come in, because it's here to enhance your experience and help you for the highest good, or just make things better in general. So try not to limit your experience to just all you've accomplished or all that's going on right now. There's like so much more for you, is whether it lines up with this area or not, is what I'd say. I don't know, maybe there's like just a new type of seafood, and if you want to stay in seafood lands. But metaphorically, you guys will not. I feel like you will expand out of seafood lands. No more calamari, but well, maybe you still use that. Anyways, next message. There's I do feel like your emotions are being balanced out. They just again showed me the color orange and gave that message for you. I feel like if you've been more emotional, you're just releasing, and it's going to balance out. Like in the next week or so, or very soon. The message after that, they showed me an elephant. I know there's a lot to get through, but the message is like, your obstacles are non-issues. So this was a really interesting one. Usually when elephant spirit animal shows up, it's about obstacle removal. Ganesha kind of links in with that, who's the Hindu deity of removing obstacles. But they showed, typically when there's a message about obstacles, there's a couple different things that will typically show up in my intuitive visuals. Though weirdly, they don't want me to get into this, I'm sorry. But they gave me that representation, but the obstacles were like phasing almost out of reality. And what's the best way to say this? You know how there are like TV shows or movies where there's like a hologram or something, and it's meant to like trick the main character or something. I don't know, like Wakanda and Black Panther. Like they have the hologram where the city Wakanda is, and it's, instead of that, there's actually like a mountain. The hologram is that there's a mountain, but it's not actually real. And if that were to like phase out for a second, like you'd realize you could potentially just, except for the weird energy barrier they have, so maybe not the best example, you'd be able to walk right through it. So in this example, they kind of showed the obstacles as like that, like they kind of like phased, like it was just like a hologram. You could walk right through it. It wasn't actually there. So it, like maybe some certain obstacles seem like big and imposing, but you might find it's possible to just like walk right through them, or it's like they're not actually even there, or at least like certain obstacles. Sometimes there's something we're running up against in our lives. It's like a challenge to grow us, or so the universe can get us to the next step, of course. But there might be other things like in business or in life, or maybe even in like getting a relationship that you think are obstacles, that if you were to walk towards it, you'd like phase right through it and it's not even there and you could just walk forward. So, the way they phrase it, and again, I don't like the word test personally. On a personal level, my understanding is that the universe is all knowing. So why the heck would the universe need to test us? It already knows. It already knows that we can handle this. It already knows. But again, I feel like the per se, it's like that imposing obstacle there to like test you, or it's almost like an are you ready? Again, it might be more for you to see than it is like the universe needs to see it. Because again, universe already knows to my understanding and what I've heard and seen and things like that. And another message I'm kind of hearing to talk about this a little bit more deeply is sometimes we can create these things for ourselves. So if you don't want tests, maybe take a perspective that there are no tests, or that tests aren't real, and you'll create less tests for yourselves. And if you're not sure about that 100%, maybe try it and see what resonates for you or works for you about that. I'm not saying that you need to buy that as your truth right out the gate, but I think sometimes people take these perspectives and I feel like it's a weird balance. I'm going to be very honest. I think sometimes people take these perspectives and they just create things for themselves they don't need to. I also think that there can just be like the truth, and people take perspectives and it's just not true. It's just, they just think it, but it's not true and it's not there. So it's a very, very strange balance for me to try to talk to. It's almost like multiple things can be true, and it's a very strange dance to try and get these messages out and talk about this. And maybe I just need to sit with it more and channel on it more and get the better messages on it, so that when I do talk about this, I have a better thing to say than that. But I'd say if taking a better perspective helps you, I would do it. So you're creating what's highest and best to show up for you. And whether that's true for you or not, and you know that, perfect. It's good that you know what's true for you. Next message here. What is true? What is life? Watch me go through an existential crisis. I'm just kidding. I'm good right now. But the next message here, they showed me a golden statue and said, "You are being shown who to be." Sorry. Can I get more clarity on that for you guys in case anyone's confused here? I don't know. I get that both are true in a weird way. And maybe it depends on your stance or where you're coming from, but I don't know. Very strange. Next message, try to figure that one out. Do I have the total best way to explain that? No, I'm sorry, but do what works for you. Anything else before we move on here? I feel like you guys will get it, so I'll move on. They showed me a golden statue who just said, you are being shown who to be reverent towards for the highest good, not just blindly worshiping who or what? society tells people to worship. I don't like the word worship personally anyways. I feel like worship doesn't need to exist, because if you think of like worship in like religion, like worshiping God, it's like, it kind of almost puts God as like separate from yourself in a weird way, because you're like trying to worship something outside of you. So I don't even like the word worship. If someone asked me what I worship, I'd say I don't think I worship anything, like, because it doesn't make sense to me as a word. Because source and God is you, and you are it. And sure, there can be some, if it helps to have some differentiation to help you talk about these things, or I don't know. I think sometimes we have an intuitive knowing about these things, and it's very hard to put into words. And I'd say this might be one of those topics or concepts, kind of like the last one, but and maybe sometimes things are a little bit fluid. But I feel like if you are, what is this message really saying? I don't know. Maybe you really look up to, I'm not going to say anything bad about Elon Musk or celebrities. I'm just going to say this message as a way to get something out. But if you, maybe you look up to some sort of like billionaire person, and society tells you like, this is the person to aspire to be and look up to and be reverent towards. But then like, and I'm not saying this about any particular person. So I know I gave an example. I am not going to get into talking bad about any of them necessarily right now, because I honestly don't feel like I have a perspective to share right now. Sometimes I kind of stay neutral about things sometimes, but let's say there's someone of that like caliber, but then you realize that they're actually a total, I'm not saying this about Elon Musk or anyone, but then you realize they're a total asshole or something like that. Or they're actually, and I'm not saying this about billionaires, because some of them are probably good people, or they're trying to be, I don't know. I do know, but my gosh, I'm sorry. Can I get the words out, please? Easy for me to say. Sometimes there are people in these positions that society, and not all of them, but certain ones in these positions, society tells us to be reverent towards or to worship, that aren't really deserving of it. And they're kind of like assholes, or like not the best people, if that makes sense. Or they're not of the vibration you would want to see, and like, you know, or something like that. So I feel like you're kind of learning more, or being shown more about like who to respect or be more reverent towards, or what to be more reverent towards in life, like the kinds of people, the kinds of things, the kinds of deeds, the kinds of actions. And you're getting very clear on that, or will be. I feel like this will actually set you free. Because sometimes we aspire to be like the things or people, probably more the people that we look up to, without really knowing what they're like, if that makes sense. But as you get more clear on that, you're like, I don't want to be like that at all. So I feel like you're getting out of the illusion that society shows you and moving towards who you're meant to be, which is really the key of the whole thing. Thanks for being patient with me getting these messages out, guys. Next message here, they showed me a silver statue. I know they kind of went gold statue to silver statue, but two different messages. They just said you are upgrading beyond what you thought was possible. Never limit yourself or your dreams. Go as big as you can. So encouragement for you to go towards your dreams and dream big and manifest big and move towards it and take action on it as you're guided to. I just feel like you're upgrading a lot right now, and I think I already said that. So, and the last message I have for you guys here, they show me a mammoth. They showed me the words ancient healing with this, and they said you are healing a lot of the patterns that kept you from success, which is the big theme for you guys I'm getting, interestingly enough. It could be ancient patterning, it could be from this lifetime, but if you have any... This is a weird message. I don't like going in this direction, but it's what they're showing me. If you potentially have any, like, and I don't want you to like blame this and then like get mad at the world and shake your fist at the sky, but if perhaps you had any like energetic encodements, or I don't know, what's the word here? Ancestral trauma, or things that were like keeping you from success or kept you from making the moves that would make you successful. I feel like you've either healed that, or that is healing and like shifting out of the way. I'm getting a very strange message, like it's possible to rewire your DNA for the highest good, especially like energetically or etherically. I feel like you have been doing that, whether it's through your intentions or energy healing or something else. Kind of a strange topic. I don't want to make the agreement as difficult to get into, but the words I'm hearing is it'd be a little bit difficult to explain right now. And just know something like that is happening. Whether you want to take that literally or metaphorically, it kind of doesn't matter as long as it's happening, right? So take that message as it resonates there. But a lot of those patterns that kept you from being successful are leaving, and I feel like you're going to find bigger success, especially as you're like working on yourself and working through that. I feel like that's it for that reading. For the Earth sign, Sun, Moon, or Rising, they were kind of showing me like a tank as I was closing out the reading, but I actually feel like that's for the next reading for the air signs now that I sit with it. So we're going to move to that here. Give me 1 second. I am adopted, so I have mystery DNA. That could be like more fun. Maybe you have like a super cool ancestral lineage with like, I was going to make a really strange joke, but I'm going to stop there. For anyone who's curious, I was about to just spout out of my mouth. Maybe you have really cool secret DNA powers like karate powers or something, and you're a secret ninja, but that's kind of maybe niche humor. So we're going to move on to the air signs, Sun, Moon, or Rising. So if you have an air sign, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this is for you when you see it. X-Men, yeah. You're a secret Wolverine. Whew, give me 1 second here. Okay, so if you have an air sign, Sun, Moon, or Rising, this is for you when you see it, whether it's now live or in the future on YouTube. Thanks for sticking with me through my spiel as I start each reading with. But I've got channel messages that came through ahead of time, and of course my spirit guides, the angels, and stars brought through. It will bring through any additional information that's for your highest good. Whew. Okay, so they started with a tank because they closed out the last reading with the tank, and they're like, no, it's for the air signs. So the first thing they showed me is like a tank, like a military tank or something similar. I guess you could see like a water tank, but let me see what the message is for you guys here. They're talking about the treads on a tank and how it has a lot of traction. I feel like even if you're moving slowly, you either do or will have traction. And sometimes that's more important than like moving quickly. Cause maybe you're like gunning it pedal to the metal, but you don't have traction and like you're on ice and the wheels are just like spinning, you know? But if you have tank treads and you have traction, and some of those guys can move pretty quick, might surprise you a little bit. Anyways, if you have traction, you're actually moving forward. So you have increased traction either now or on the way, and I would definitely capitalize on that. Like if you notice you have traction and like your efforts are paying off and getting results, I would keep moving and like, again, capitalize on it. Keep compounding on that energy and you'll go very far is what I'd say. If you have traction with anything that you would like to have traction with, whether it's a business or your career or making more money or spirituality or intuition or relationships or anything you'd like to do or learning a skill. Next, so they kind of use this pun sometimes for these live readings when I do the air signs. They love this one, but they show me Air Jordan, you know, like Michael Jordan jumping in the air, and there's the Air Jordan like Nike shoes. But the message for you is that it's time to take a leap. It's time to stop putting yourself last. If you need to hear that, many of you I feel like do in at least some area. It's time to be you, leaps of faith required. So I feel like if there's anything you would really like to do, I know at the time I'm filming this, it's Mercury in retrograde, but I'm hearing now's the time. Maybe you already kind of started it and then stopped or something like that. If it's something you really would like to do and you feel that inkling to do it, I would try to do it even though it's Mercury in retrograde, or I'd try to do it anyways. And even if it's not the thing that's for you, it could lead to the thing that's for you. So don't hold back on that, you know, is what I'd say and what I'm getting to say there. If you have to take a leap of faith and you've been putting it off in any area, I feel like now's the time is what I'd say. You can double check with your intuition just to be safe, but it's what I'm hearing. So keep that in mind. And usually grasshopper shows up with readings. I feel like they've beaten it to death a little bit with grasshopper because it showed up for like every reading for like 3 months, you know, in the past, like sometime around the start of this year. And it could just be that there's a lot of big leaps to have, or that symbolism is important, or that energy of grasshopper spirit animal is important right now. But I guess that's a spirit animal you could call upon to help you if you need help taking the proper leaps in your life. And, spirit animals are an energy or a being, of the true highest light, for that is good, you could call on to help you, much like you could call on your angels or your spirit guides or source or, a deity or things like that. And I don't know, I kind of want to say that for some reason. So, you could just, or whatever spirit animal you feel called to, like grasshopper spirit animal, please help me take this leap for the highest good, and whatever would be for the highest good, thank you so much, or something like that. And sometimes all it takes is an ask. Asking you will receive is what I like to say. So next they showed me an elephant again. He's popular, but this one again is about obstacles and obstacles being removed. It's a little bit different for the air signs. It just said there are a lot of obstacles being removed for you. So again, it's something that you would like to probably capitalize on if you see this happening. Like if you see this, please move forward. That is your cue to move. So either move forward, take a leap, make a move. And what do I mean by that? Like, this is going to be a silly example. No, it's not. I don't know. Here's an example. Sometimes like you want to like get a promotion at work maybe, but it's like all the positions are filled and they're perpetually filled, and maybe it's competitive, so no one ever wants to leave those jobs, and you're like waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. Like the second you see a position open and like that obstacle's out of the way, apply, or move towards that, position, especially if like you're in position to have a shot at it, or some, maybe even if you're not, but once those obstacles are gone, or maybe another example would be like you're trying to build something or work on a project, but you just feel really jammed up on it. And you're like, it's not moving, it's not working. And it's like, then like you sit down for it one day, or you feel called to one day, and it just flows. They're like, okay, capitalize on it. It's time to work on that thing, like hit it for the highest good. Capitalize on those obstacles not being there, because that's going to kind of get you beyond that phase where the obstacles are there, at least for a while. And it could be a weird situation. They're showing me this example of, there's a lot they're showing me to get this message across. Like maybe it's like you're in this position, you're trying to move forward, there's obstacles, and maybe you can work through it a bit, but maybe there are time periods where like they disappear, but then like the obstacles come back, if you wait too long or something like that. I'm not trying to freak you out or sell you on, I'm not trying to, sell you on my course that's only available in the next 24 hours or anything like that. It's just what I'm getting for this message. Like, if you ever watched like Star Wars, like episode 1, like the prequels with the cool red dude with the dual lightsaber stick thing. I'm a lot nerdier than I maybe you already realized that. So I'm totally just butchering that. So I know his name is Darth Maul. But in their big epic fight scene at the end, there's like these doors, these like energy doors that happen where it's like they're fighting and they go into this phase of the building or the fight where like these energy doors will like open and they can like move through it and fight, but then they close and they're kind of like separated by these like doors that they can't get through. And they kind of showed me that to kind of symbolize it. Like maybe the doors are shut, but then they open, and it's like when those doors open, like go. So I don't think I need to say anything more on that. I think I've said like 20 different examples, so we're going to move on here. And maybe I didn't even need to give those examples. But next message. So this is kind of an interesting one, and maybe this isn't for all of you, this particular sliver of the reading I'm about to provide. But they showed a basketball, and it was about hitting rock bottom and bouncing. I'm not saying you're going to hit rock bottom. What I am saying is the message that came through is you're going to bounce back from a negative situation. So maybe you just hit rock bottom in like a particular area, and it wasn't like, your whole life, because I don't feel like all of you are in a position like that. Some of you have hit rock bottom, you've already bounced back, and you're good. But if there's been like a negative situation that's been ongoing, or you feel like you hit a low point in some area, I do feel like you're going to bounce back. So I wouldn't give up right now. I'd kind of keep trying is what I'd say regarding that situation. I feel like you're going to bounce. It's not like a negative message, really. To the contrary, I think it's just saying like your efforts are paying off if you've been working on yourself or trying to extricate yourself from a sticky situation or anything like that. Like it's going to work out. So yeah, that's the message. You're going to bounce back from a negative situation. One of the next things that showed up for you guys was like a squid or like a giant squid. And there was a lot of random words that kind of seemed to pop in as well, but I'm going to see what they'd like me to say. The message that I will get to now, though, is you are getting an unusual boost in your life that doesn't come around very often. So it could come in any area like money, strength, friendships, success, etc. Maybe you just have something really abnormal that teleports into your world and gives you a big boost with your, like, I don't know, maybe I'm not going to promise you all are going to win the lottery. I don't want to talk bad about anyone, but I remember watching this one reading and it was like, you're all going to be billionaires. And then like 30,000 people had watched it. I'm like, unless there's some type of hyperinflation, and I don't want to put that out in the universe, so cancel. We're not all going to be billionaires, probably. Maybe some of us. But I just think maybe unless it's a metaphor for you're a billionaire in friendships or in spirituality, which is fine. But I'm just like, there's no way. To me, that seemed, maybe I didn't watch the reading because I scrolled when I saw that, but maybe the reader meant it in a different way and they rectified it and it made more sense. But I was like, I don't see that at all with this message. It almost seemed like a parody of readings. I'm so sorry. I don't want to, and like the last thing I want to do is talk bad about other readers and other people. I really don't want to do that, but that one got my goat a little bit. But I mean, maybe you got like some extra money from something, or you get a bonus at work. There's a lot of different ways these things can show up. But let me see what else would be highest and best to bring through on this one here. Maybe you are someone who has trouble with friendships and then you get like the perfect friend shows up, or you've had trouble moving forward in your work. And again, you get like a super boost and all of a sudden you like launch very forward. Maybe you're trying to grow on social media and someone posts a video of yours on a blog that's super well viewed and you get a ton of followers. Like there's a lot of different ways this can show up, but I feel like something like that is happening. As far as why squid was the message with this, I think it was more like how giant squids are a bit unusual. So I don't know what's up with the symbolism with this one, but maybe it's just a sign for you guys that, and maybe like this will happen and then you'll see a squid and be like, oh, squid time. So next message here, like that sign links in with that message. So, okay, I don't know what's up with like the golden statues with these readings today, but the next one they showed me was a golden monkey statue. They just said like your ego is stepping out of the way more and you're going to be succeeding more. And I think it could be like monkey mind and like, ego. I remember one time, never mind. I was going to get into something they don't want me to get into, but I feel like this is a positive message because I feel like if your ego stepped out of the way more, you're either seeing more clearly or maybe you'll just be more of service to people more naturally, or you'll just be moving in the right directions. And it's a good move. If you've been doing any type of ego work, I feel like that's a good move. Even if you're just meditating or journaling or reflecting or whatever, or energy healing, whatever it is. I'm not going to promise this is like the shortcut that fixes everything for you, but this intention could be helpful. Because I remember one time I was sitting with the concept of ego, and there's a kind of a common, I don't know if it's common, there's a teaching that's out there where it's like, kind of talks about it being like you as like a vessel, like maybe a glass of water, and maybe there's water and oil in this glass. And like water would be spirit and oil would be ego. And like ideally, typically, and I've heard this talked about in a couple of different ways, you'd want about like a vast percentage of that, like 90+%, if not even more, to be like spirit, and then like a thin layer of, or just the right amount of ego, if that makes sense. Typically, as far as what I've seen as a teaching. And one thing that I've done that was helpful for me, and it sounds very simple, but hear me out on this. Because for me, the way I've found it works is ask and you will receive. And what I noticed as I did this was I was sitting with it. I'm like, okay, I am asking to have just the right amount of ego for me. I ask that my ego is brought down or to the amount that's just right for me. And I have the highest and best optimal ratio of spirit to ego. And you can even set the intention as moment to moment and ask the angels to bring that about, or source. And depending on where you're at, because when I did that, I remember feeling the energy shifting, like I felt or saw. Sometimes it's hard to explain how I see, feel, know, work, operate things, but those of you who get it will get it. Like I saw or felt like whatever that energy was, that was ego, kind of like shrink and like move to like a smaller amount. So there's a couple of different ways it could show up. One, it might just happen automatically if you're ready for that. It could. Two, it could be that you set that intention and spirit, source, the universe lines up the events and the lessons or the tools or whatever you need to get you to that spot over time if you're not ready to just jump right into it. And maybe you feel the energy shift and notice the physical manifestations start to show up where that happens over time to bring you to that. And maybe you have to take some form of action, or maybe it just shows up and it lines up for you. Trust your intuition and how that shows up for you. But it could be a way to jumpstart that, at least, where you're just asking for the optimal, perfect amount of or that your ego's brought to like whatever size would be just right for you. So there's not too much. Depending on the person you talk to, depending on the teaching and the framework, really depends. Usually it seems, from what I've seen from others, is you don't want to just like eradicate the ego for some reason. So, and I've heard different things from different people, and I want to kind of be careful with what I say a little bit, but what would be high so much for me to say as far as like a channeled message here? Getting rid of the ego might, depending on your framework, get rid of certain things that could be helpful for you as far as like operating in the world as a person. So having just the right amount is perfect is what I get to say for this here. And of course, if you have too much, it's not usually good, but wherever you're at, probably perfect for you in the moment. Wow. Anyways, hope that's helpful. Next message is get your mind out of the way and trust your intuition. If any of you need to hear that. So I'm going to sit with that because it's very blunt, but any like more nuance for that message or information. I feel like some of you don't trust yourselves, and you should, and maybe just hearing that's going to be helpful, regarding your intuition. Especially if you notice you've been accurate before or been effective with your intuition. I feel like there's no reason not to trust it if that's been the case for you. And it'd just be better for you to trust. For others, it's funny that we just had this message after we talked about what we just talked about. For others of you here, if you're not confident in your intuition yet, I would just keep working on it. I feel like eventually your mind will be stepped out of the way if you've been having trouble with it. And as you get better with it and more practiced with it, it does just get easier over time just to discern like what's your intuition, what is a thought. It just becomes second nature because intuition might just show up in a completely different way. It's just like obvious, like it's a no-brainer what's intuition and what's not. And like you can feel the energy, like okay, intuition to me feels and is like this, my thoughts are like this, it comes from a completely different place, it's completely different energetically, I know the difference. So, and that's always a good place to be. But if you're working on your intuition, I would try to get to that place if you need to hear that as well. There's a bit more with this one here. I just feel like some of you just need to trust yourselves. And you know that. And I don't know. If you've been having trouble with it, I feel like it'll be rectified. So, and the other message is that, you do have higher knowing and more more knowing coming online, more going forward. So I would trust that once it's there, especially over the next year for sure, but next few months, I feel like it's just opening up collectively more. And, if you're someone who would like to work on their intuition, now is like a great time to be doing it because the road for that is opening wide for everyone if you're willing to work on it. Something is kind of jumping in as well. And would it be fast for me to talk about that thing? No, we're going to skip it. So the last message I have for you ahead of time is like, if there is a fire in your life, okay, I need to like explain this a little bit, but if there's a fire in your life, like something's on fire, like not in a good way, they're like, just run to the next thing. Such as like, if your job is like on fire and like crumbling, it's like, go to the next job. Like don't stay there and burn, essentially. Sometimes like things are uncomfortable and that's growing us, or we have to move out of our comfort zone and get uncomfortable to move forward or something like that. But sometimes things are just like squeezing us so that we move out of a situation and move forward. And, I feel like you'll know what these situations are regarding like if something's on fire in your life regarding this message, because it will be blatantly unsustainable. Like it will just blatantly not make sense to keep going. But sometimes we'll like almost blind ourselves to like keep staying in it because our parents want us to, or society says it's a good job or something like that. But Spirit's like, bro, no, don't sit there in the burning building. So trust your own intuition on that, of course, I'd say, but it doesn't make sense to stay in an unsustainable situation. And you'll be forced out of it eventually, because otherwise, I mean, if it was a real example, you'd burn to death. And the other example would be it'd get so hot and uncomfortable and you couldn't breathe because of the smoke, you'd be forced to leave. So if you notice something is blatantly unsustainable or crumbling or metaphorically not in a good way on fire, I'd get out of there. I'd skedaddle or take the steps to position yourself to get out of there at the right time. You don't have to freak out unless you know you need to. So I feel like that's it for the air signs. Sorry, sun, moon, or rising. I hope that was helpful and made sense. And hopefully you're enjoying Tangent City today with all the little stories I'm spinning into as I go into this. But even and they're like, you didn't need to spin it like that. So I'm just going to trust it instead. I'm sorry I said anything. Let's move to the water sign, sun, moon, or rising. Whew. I am feeling it today. Not in a bad way. I'm also feeling hungry. Full disclosure. Okay. We're going to launch into the water signs. So I'm going to write a song, Tangent City. Please send me the MP3 when you're done. You don't have to send me the MP3, but that sounds fun. Oh, you missed Earth. Sorry to hear it. Hopefully you already know this, but anyone else who needs to hear it, this might be a good time to mention that these do get reposted on YouTube, barring any technical difficulties with TikTok, because there have been rare instances where they're like, there's been an issue and you cannot download this live. And usually that's the universe is like, nah, we just don't want this posted. I'm like, okay. But they've been working pretty well recently. So I tend to upload this either later the same day or tomorrow on Monday. So I need to plug my computer in here. Also, I tend to like grab things and like fidget with things. So I am holding like a wand from the companies from Twisted Sage, if you were wondering what I'm holding while I'm doing this. And that way it keeps me from like grabbing things and like during the readings and like throwing earbuds around and stuff. So I don't usually do it like that, but so for the water side, sun, moon, or rising, this is for you. Chaos. This is for you whenever you see it. Of course, I'm going to go through the spiel. I have channel messages that came through ahead of time, and my spirit guides, the angels, and source will bring through any additional information that would be for you guys as I go through these. So what would be highest much for to start here? I don't know why squid is showing up so much today, but squid is showing up for the water signs as well. This is a very strange visual, so I'm gonna just have to sit with this message as at 1 second here. I'm just gonna have to sit with this message as it plays out because the squid is kind of like surfacing, and you are like in this rowboat, and it almost looks like it's something out of a. Is there a Van Gogh painting where someone's in a rowboat, or is that a different painter? I don't know. It looks like something out of a painting almost. But someone's in this rowboat, and the squid kind of like surfaces next to this boat. And the squid's like, hey, come here, I have a secret. But he's like whispering it. And he's kind of encouraging the person, or us, to dive into the water with him. And he's kind of leading us down through the ocean to treasure, actually, is like this buried treasure, the sunken treasure. And I don't know why there's like it's old scuba diving gear, like someone almost died down there, it looks like, in this scuba diving gear. So it's coveted treasure. So what's the message with you guys with the squid and the treasure and all this here? I feel like you guys are being led to something really great, like a treasure, but it might be pretty uncomfortable getting there is what I keep hearing is this explanation. I guess it's pretty weird following a squid down into the depths of the ocean. It's like, can you trust the squid? I don't know. I don't think squids usually are predators towards humans, but someone in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong about that. Sounds like a B-side horror movie, like Sharknado or whatever. Squid Attack, or Robot Squid. It has to be Robot Squid. Okay, sorry, I'm getting off track. But anyways, I feel like you're being led to this treasure, but it's like very uncomfortable. It's like you kind of have to brave the deep. You kind of have to get out of your comfortable little rowboat. You have to get wet. You have to follow this weird squid that's like whispering to you, this robot squid. And that's a joke. The robot squid's a joke, but the rest isn't. But if you're willing to do it and go through that uncomfortability of either putting yourself out there or starting something new or leaving something behind that is uncomfortable to leave behind, like a comfort zone, you're going to have treasure. So anywhere you feel very uncomfortable about it, but you know you would really like to do something, as long as you feel like it's possible, I would try it, you know, whatever that is. As far as like another example that could be here, I don't know, I'll just use the example. Maybe you've always wanted to channel, but it looks really uncomfortable to have to, what's the best way to say this? Try to do that because you kind of have to do things you've never done before. Or maybe what are the best examples here? It doesn't have to be with me, but there's plenty of channeling classes out there. Maybe you have to take a class with someone, or maybe you have to like put yourself out there as like woo woo, which I hate that word because it's real. It's, the spirituality is real. There's no reason to have that word tied to it. But you have to be seen a certain way to like try this new thing or put yourself out there and make yourself uncomfortable. So I'm taking a long time to get this message out, and I apologize if there's any need to apologize. And if there's not, then I don't. Why am I being so weird today? Anyways, go through the uncomfortable, get the treasure, follow the squid. Next message here. Let's see what else would be highest best for us to get to here. It's actually like a continuation of the last visual I was getting. And you're probably like, oh joy, let's talk more about robot squids. But the way this visual is transforming here, it's like once this diver or you gets to the bottom of this ocean, like we almost have to like dig a little bit. Because like there's more for us under the surface. It's like the treasure is just the beginning. So weird message, but you might have to go deeper in yourself than ever before. And I'm going to ask them to explain it more because that doesn't, like, what does that even mean? Like, what ways do they mean it? I suppose one thing I would say is now is a great time whenever you're seeing this for introspection, and like really getting to the depths of why you do what you do and like why you're asking for what you're asking for and like why your life is the way it is right now. And if you channel, you can channel on it or be intuitive about it, or you could just do some introspection and journaling on that. Because I feel like that's actually going to unveil a lot more treasure. It could also help you manifest things a bit more quickly if you like know why you're manifesting something. That's actually something I heard from Lee Harris originally. They're telling me to say it now. I also try to give credit where credit's due when they're having me pull from something that I've heard from someone else. But I feel like that could just unveil a lot of good things for you for some reason. So in a weird way, I wouldn't be taking things at face value about yourself. I'd be diving a little bit deeper than normal as far as like your motivations or why you're manifesting something or anything. And I feel like you'll unveil a lot, but you'll also help yourself in the future. And if I don't know, hopefully that makes sense as a message. So we're going to move on here. The other part of this message is like unearthing treasure within you. And I feel like that's part of that's doing. I don't know. I just feel like you're getting a lot more treasure than you realize if you do that. So the next message here, sometimes they kind of, again, work with the puns, like it's water science, and then they give me the word float. And so they showed someone like floating, like at the surface of the water, like, you know how people float on their backs. But there's almost this visual along with this of like, they were like hitting this like eddy or this whirlpool that would kind of like try to suck them under the water a little bit. So let me see what this message is about a bit more deeply before I open my mouth any further on it here. I feel like you are divinely protected from being pulled over. So, sorry, pulled over. Maybe someone needed to hear that, or that's synchronistic for someone. Pulled under is what I was trying to say. So if you need to rest, like that's okay. You don't need to like beat yourself up and run yourself to death, like trying to strive towards success or trying to make something happen or something. Like it's okay to like take a day or take an afternoon or take extra time if you need it. It is actually recommended if you feel overworked. Otherwise, you might run yourself ragged if you're resonating with what I'm saying there for this message. Because you might be afraid that taking time for yourself is going to have you pulled out under, like maybe even like financially, or maybe, you won't get enough accomplished and you won't succeed or something like that. But I feel like you'll actually be okay. It's like spirit has like a life vest for you that's under you that keeps you from going under, or robot squid saves the day, which is a partial joke, but I kind of feel energetically some of you aren't finding that as funny as I'm intending it to be, so I'm going to stop with the robot squid. Next message here. The next thing, so I do feel like, there is more flow returning for you guys. They also said with that message, like the flow returning, that you're going to be on top. So for those of you who are like trying to get to the top in some way and you're afraid you're not going to make it, I feel like you will, or you definitely can. So keep working towards it. If any of you like fell from the top, I feel like you're getting back on the top is something I'm getting. And the visual they showed me with that one is they gave that portion of the message was that someone just getting back on a horse, honestly, like getting on the top. So if that's a message for anyone. So next thing they'd like me to get to here, they just showed me a dinner plate. And the phrase they gave me is being served your portion. The message is that sometimes the universe holds off on serving your portion until you are really ready to handle it or like have it. So don't be jealous of others because your portion will come. So don't be jealous of others don't do that because your portion will come. I don't know. So whether that's a job or money or a relationship, something you're desiring, you winning in life, whatever that looks like for you, I feel like it's on the way. And maybe some of you have watched other people get a lot of success and you haven't, and you're like, what gives? But I feel like as long as you're putting the work in, it's something that's going to show up for you. Like your portion will be served. And if you're not ready, I feel like you're almost ready and Spirit's serving it up real quick. So that's exciting. I feel like that's really good. And I don't feel like it's a one and done either. Like I think sometimes with the message, you might, with food, with that metaphor, it might seem like, oh, you get served a plate and then you're done. Like you eat, you're done. I feel like it's actually ongoing. Like it's the food that never ends maybe, or it's something that really builds to more into something else or is perpetual. So I don't know. I feel called to add that on to that message as well, just in case. So there's all these like golden objects for this reading, and golden trophy showed up for you guys for this one. I kind of like we just said, I just feel like some type of success is on the way. And like you're as far as what that is, it's kind of whatever success is to you, whatever you've been moving towards. If you haven't been moving towards anything, I feel like it's just more contentment with life at the very, very least, or it's a combination of both of those. There's no limit to it. The other message they said with this is that you are on a higher road. What does that mean for you guys? Let me check just to make sure I'm getting this out to you in a helpful way. I think sometimes we think we're doing way worse than we actually are. We might think like we're the worst and we're doing terribly, and the universe is gonna, this isn't something I would ever take as a framework or recommend as a framework. We might even be like, oh, the universe is gonna punish me because I had that bad thought once and all this stuff. But it's like, I feel like you're actually doing really well. And maybe you don't think you are because of your own story or your own frame or perspective, but I feel like it's going to be shown to you that you are, or you'll be brought up to a higher place. So even higher place, so you feel like a bit better about it is something I'm getting. I feel like you're just going to be feeling more successful. I don't always like the word like you will be feeling successful. I think it's good. It could be seen as good because it's good if you're feeling that and you're in that energy. But I also prefer to use terminology like being. So like if I'm asking for something, I don't want to just feel connected to the angels. I would like to be connected to the angels. I don't want to feel successful. I would like to be successful. So I don't know if that's a little tidbit that's helpful for you to hear, but I feel like you'll be and feel more successful, which is good. Next message, they gave me the word, this has been just an ongoing theme right now, I guess, today, but I feel like higher elevation is going to be hitting you guys a little bit hard, or is hitting you hard. So if you're having like a rough day, or just feel like a lot's being like steamrolled out of you, like came through in the collective reading, I feel like just allowing yourself to release is going to be the answer, and you'll be right as rain, or realize it's going on and that it's, whether it's a purge or just releasing things. And, I think purge is kind of comes out as a little bit of a violent word. Sometimes it'd be like that, but it could be a bit more gentle as well. So you don't have to freak out about that. But if you feel like you're kind of being forced to release because you're elevating, or you're kind of hitting that elevation period, I do feel like you'll be fine, better for it, and just allow yourself to release. And try not to hold on to things you're releasing if you need to hear that in any way, shape, or form. Weirdly enough, they're showing me like golden rain next. It's like rain, but the drops are like made of gold or like liquid gold here. They're kind of giving me one of those messages where it's like sometimes the worst times lead to the best times. I don't feel like any of you are really, hopefully you don't feel like this, are in the worst times. I feel like you've been through it. At least like 99% of it. I feel like it's 100% though. I feel like you don't realize how good things can get after it's been difficult. So maybe you're in the golden rain period where it's in between. Like it's like the example they're giving me is like, and this might not literally be it, but it's like you're still sad, but it's golden rain, so you're rich or something like that. But it's like eventually it clears and you have this field of gold from the golden rain. Very strange message. But maybe you're like still in between coming out of like difficulty or like a rough patch. Maybe it was like years ago or it's been a while. And you're still in the in-between. This is kind of a positive message because if you felt like things have been getting better and they're already in a much better place, that means there's still more getting betterness, for you, which is awesome. Like you haven't peaked, son. You didn't peak in high school. I don't know why, joke, but, so I've never heard this said this way before, but you might be in like a golden rain period where you're in between that and coming out of the roughness and into the better and the more abundant and the free and light and feeling more yourself, if that makes sense. They were also showing me like the Fool tarot card character with that message as well. Like he was kind of skipping light and free in this field. So if you've taken a leap of faith recently, that is going to work out, is what I'm getting for you guys as well here. So what's the next thing for me to get to here for you guys before we wrap this up? So they showed me an anvil, like on the cartoons, like Wile E. Coyote. Is it Wile E. Coyote and like the Roadrunner and all that? Like they have the anvils they try to drop on each other or whatever. And I know it's the one dude trying to drop it on the other, but usually I feel like what they're showing me with that is like just heaviness is leaving. I think that came through in a recent reading I posted as well. But you might be like used to heaviness in your life or like heavy circumstances, but like when they're lifted away, like you don't know what to do because things are like light and good. So if that happens, like one, I would celebrate and like ask for more lightness and ask that it keeps the heaviness continues to lift and be gone from you. But if there's any type of like weird, I don't feel like I need to say this, but if there's any like weird freak out that you have about it, or like, what do I do? And you have a weird minor panic attack because things aren't heavy and you're just not used to it. It's not comfortable to you. I just try to like breathe through it and accept it and ask for more of it. And ask to accept it with the ease, I guess, is something you can do. I don't know. I just sometimes when things have been heavy for a long time and then things get lighter and easier, like you're not sure what to do. Anything else with that I need to say on that would be helpful for you? I don't know. Just accept it. I'm not getting it. They're kind of like, I'm not getting a lot more beyond that with that message. So I guess I'll stop there here. What's next? Nothing else with anything. I for some reason, I feel like ascension energies are really strong with this crowd right now, like the water signs, potentially more of you as well. It was a message for April that came through, because I do a free newsletter every month, and like I do channel messages on April and send those out to whoever's joined the newsletter. And one of the things that came through for April is that there are going to be a lot more, I mean, we're already most of the way through April, but there would be a lot more ascension energies. Like people might be feeling it a bit more strongly right now. Not super important for what I was about to say, but I feel like that might be part of why it's coming through right now, is that we're just kind of have more of those energies. And I don't typically get into like ascension terminology and stuff all the time. I'll kind of bring it through as I'm guided to talk about it. I feel like there can be some really good stuff on it. And I think there's also a lot of weird stuff on it, if I'm being very honest, that I don't quite buy into, if I'm being very honest. But I do know like there's something to it. It's a thing. Something's, there is some type of shift, happening like that, like rise on consciousness, human evolution, a rise of the light on Earth, a transition. Whether you want to call it going to fifth dimensional frequency or have different words for it, doesn't matter to me. Something like that's happening. But I feel like kind of in tandem with the last message, I feel like that might be hitting you a bit more. And so I would just be taking care of yourself, honestly, is what I'm getting to say to you guys about that one. So just like extra self-care, drink lots of water, just pay attention to how you're feeling about everything. And I feel like that'll be, and by pay attention to how you're feeling about everything, what I'm trying to say is like, if you're feeling off, like, or you're just feeling like a little conked out because of the energies, like take care of yourself, like do a little time for yourself, do a little grounding, do a little journaling, do something to help yourself out with that one, whatever your self-care is, and just focus on it more. And I feel like that'll pull you through it really quickly, as opposed to trying to do your normal routine, but you're also getting conked out by like higher energies or whatever. Like just take a little bit of extra self-care. Anything else for the water signs before we part ways? I am kind of getting an extra message of good luck for you guys. I kind of feel like it's for everyone though. I feel like you can also just be asking for good luck and bringing that energy through. I feel like I need to go on like 20 tangents again about good luck, because I feel like I've been saying this a lot recently, but good luck one way I've heard it said that I really liked, and there's a couple different ways, is that good luck is an energy or a frequency that you can like call upon and manifest and walk in, and just have that energy that you kind of walk in or have around you in your life. You can also take some of the more pragmatic, I feel like that's very pragmatic, honestly. When you work with energy and work with those energies and manifest those things for yourself and see how it shifts your life, very practical, very effective. But the other side that maybe logical is the right word to talk to, that might appeal to the logical brain or the logical minded among you is, there's that quote, like luck is preparedness meets opportunity. And doing the things and putting the actions in to be ready to catch the waves, so to speak. So like if you want to be in a big rock band with guitar, you practice your guitar and get really good at it and get good at, all the things that have to do with that. And maybe you even get good at working with people so that you can deal with band dynamics of being in a band really easily. And then maybe you get an opportunity to, audition for a big band and just jump into that role. But you have, getting prepared for that really helps, because you have the preparedness, you have the opportunity, here's the wave, the audition, you catch the wave. Of course, but I think you can have both. You can have that, logical stance where you're that, but you can also be bringing in that energy and just manifesting the good luck. So why not? But I feel like that's just on a rise for you guys if you've been asking for that, or it's just like a stronger energy for you guys right now. I don't know if it's astrological or what, but that's kind of coming through here. So the next thing they're showing me is like a pearl. And sorry, when I do weird things, I'm picking up on something weird and I'm just trying to shoo like an energy away or something. And again, it could just be someone scrolling by. That just was weird. And if you just scrolled by when I said that, it's probably not you. But anyways, what was I getting to? With the pearl, it's about amplification, if that makes sense. I feel like a lot of your intention, what's the best way to say this? There are a lot of intentions that you're putting out there or have that are being amplified. I feel like spirit is also kind of saying like, it's your time in a weird way. Like it's like your time for things to happen, or for your intentions to be amplified and manifest, or for things to be easier for you. So you just might feel things being shifted really readily to bring you what you desire. Maybe there's still things to work through, maybe not. We'll see. But I kind of just feel like things are shifting out of your way finally, and it'll be like easier to bring in what you're desiring. But like your intentions are amplified, if that makes sense, like for you. Not necessarily any like negative ones or negative energies. But I feel like it's gonna be easier to create. So if you feel called to watch your words around this time with what you're saying and putting out there, you can do that. I don't want you to be afraid. I don't feel like you need to be afraid of that, but maybe put a little extra effort into manifesting or something like that, because I just feel like the gates are opening. Okay, I need to close the reading, so I hope that was helpful and did whatever was for your highest good. I want to say squid spirit animals. I know like squid symbology showed up for this, but I feel like it's also like here helping you guys as well with what's it helping you guys with? Because that's really interesting. I feel like squid spirit animal is here to help you handle all the things you need to handle in order to either have success or to create what you're designed to create, because they're, I know squids have 7 tentacles and usually octopus would be, I don't know. I just go with what I'm getting. I would think that octopus would be the one that would show up for this, but it's not. Squid's showing up for this one. And he has the 7 tentacles. He can handle a bunch of different things. So, and maybe the number 7 is important to you, but which is actually usually a number of good luck for me, at least in my understanding. So one last thing before we part ways. They were showing me lightning, and then Thor was showing up as well with his hammer. With lightning, it can be a couple different things when it shows up for me in readings. In this instance, what I'm getting is it's about like, because it's like a flash, right? It's like sudden changes and things like that. I feel like if anything changes very suddenly or has recently, it like needs to happen. It's like something that's like destined to happen, and sometimes the universe course corrects us really quickly because there's something really important to get to. And maybe I don't like this metaphor at all, because it's not literally like this. You're not a dog, you're not a pet, but maybe you feel like a dog on the leash that the universe is like, come on, like really tugging at you. It's like, no, over here. Nope, this way now. And you're just kind of like, what? I just want to poop on this bush. As we all do, right? Joke. But can I get the... wrap this up for me, please, guys. But I would just trust it. Like if there are sudden changes or like flashes, it's like that's the right move. You might also be getting like warning signs, like if you start moving in the right direction, and I would just heed that. I don't like this because I feel like bees are a very common symbol, but you might find, and it could just be for a limited time only. It might not be like this for the rest of your life, but because sometimes bees mean something really positive or like a really positive message for some people, but they can, in this scenario regarding this message, if you're trying to do something or thinking about doing something and you see bees like all the time, like the rest of the day, maybe reconsider, is what I'm getting. Like bees are almost a warning sign regarding this message. And I'd say like at least for the next week. And I never want to like pigeonhole you into like being afraid every time you see bees now in the future, because I don't think that's helpful either. But like for the next like week to a month, and then all bets are off with that one, unless you want to keep using that sign as a warning. And you could ask the universe like, okay, that was helpful, universe, you can keep using that as a warning. Or you could be like, you know what, universe, I don't want bees as a warning after this week or month. Go back to my normal warning signs. And like, okay, cool. But that's what I'll say to let you off the hook and not be afraid of bees, beyond what you might have already been afraid of bees for. Okay, one more message before we part ways, and it's about Thor is showing up again for this one. So what's up with Thor and this message here? I feel like you guys, because Thor has his like hammer, he has his tool. He's kind of talking about how you guys have the tools you need to succeed, like just take action. And I feel like if you don't feel like you have the tools you need to succeed, just take action and you'll find that you do, or they'll be brought to you, is something I'd say. So I know there like was a message about resting if you need to somewhere in all of here, but if you feel called to take action, I would take action if that all makes sense here, whether you feel ready or not. Okay, I'm going to close it there because I feel like I'm hitting like not like a wall, but I just hit this zone where I've been like sometimes where I just start to space out a bit more. So I might take a second to ground, and then usually I do a full channel mode message after these readings, and I will again. So we'll jump into that in a second here, but I hope that was helpful for the water sign, sun, moon, and rising, and it made sense and did all that was for that is good. That's it for the water signs for now. So I'm going to take like 2 seconds to maybe just ground a little bit and kind of get recentered, and then probably we'll do a full channel mode message for you guys. Very helpful. Perfect. You are welcome. You are so welcome. So glad to hear it's helpful. You are so welcome. Who lighten up Jess. I love that username. Wait, I might know you. You might be one of the Jessicas I know. But yeah, you're so welcome. Of course. I feel like, and you might have meant this in a different way than I'm saying it, but I feel like I would only be doing a disservice if I did anything that like wasn't real, or wasn't legit, or you know what I mean. I just feel like that's not serving anyone if I did that. You said many things that were confirmation. Perfect, Angel Gates. I'm so glad to hear it. Thank you, Brandon. Turned in late, but so happy I made it. Glad you're here. No regrets. Good to see you. And of course, you probably already know it's reposted on YouTube, but good to see you. Okay, they would like me to start the full channel mode message, so I'm going to... I'm not sure if you can even read that, but yeah, it's not very clear, at least from what I can see. But that says channel, and that's to signify I'm going to do a full channel mode message. So not that I haven't been channeling this whole time, but it's you'll see. So those of you who have been with me a while, been showing up for this for a while, you know what's about to go down, or up, or however it works. And those of you who are new, I'm just going to be full channel mode. So my spirit guides, the angels and source, as I say, to simplify it, will just be channeling through me directly to bring a message. And there's a couple things to note that are important. Is yes, there's the words and the message, that whatever they talk about for you. There's also there's like an energetic component or energetic transmission from source that works only for the highest good. To just, it's almost like it almost does like energy healing for the highest good, or can create some shifts or upgrading or whatever's for the highest good. Just for whoever's here, and whatever would be for the highest good to be done. So the frequency is important, as well as you might hear some other channelers mention to you. And if okay, I'm just going to dive in because that's what they're saying. So I might like sit for a second, I might cough a little bit, and then they usually laugh and just start. But if they start differently, oh well. Welcome to this channeled message for today. We would like to talk about good luck as well, because there's a frequency with that we can bring to you or facilitate flowing to you that will help you to step into that energy more easily, instead of letting it be a mystery for some of you who didn't get it or were not sure how to bring that frequency about. For you can get good luck from source, or energy from source that you feel called to or ask for, or that would be for that is good for you to bring through. So we are going to have you sit in the energy of good luck for just a minute here to begin to draw more of it towards you. So you can go ahead and take a deep breath, and you can get into a meditative state or not, but just take a second to get still and feel the energies around you and within you. And you can just say, true highest most infinite source, I ask for good luck right now. I ask to feel for the highest good, and only in the highest and best ways, the energy of good luck now. Thank you. And you should be surrounded by an energy or a sensation or a feeling of good luck. And you may smile, you may feel joy, you may feel exuberance, as you would feel if you encountered good luck in your life through a physical circumstance that you would perceive of as lucky. But just sit in that energy for a minute. Sit in good luck. And you can ask to source, ask the question, what would it be like if I were totally lucky? I had total good luck in every area. Things were going my way. And just get the energy of that. And again, you might feel joy, exuberance, amazing. You may have a smile on your face. You are feeling that energy. And you can say to source, I ask for this. I ask for that. This energy I'm feeling, this good luck, this thing's going my way. And that will begin to manifest in your physical circumstances. That energy will begin to show up, whether it's a way you would think it would or not. And some of you already know, you already get those messages, and that is cool too. The reason we are having you sit in good luck and making that a part of this transmission and this that exercise, at least, is because it is an energy that will help you. And some of you think of good luck as a folk tale, or it's not real, or it's not something that will be helpful. But having a little bit of good luck on your side energetically can really swing the pendulum in a proper direction for you, for your highest good. In some ways, it is saying to Source, I am asking for things to go my way. I'm asking that things flow in ways that are for the highest good for me. So you do not have to beat up on yourself and think it is all on you to make things happen, to change the world. You definitely don't have to think it's all on you to take on other people's stuff to heal them, which doesn't work, by the way, very well, as much as you would hope or want. So if you are someone who does that, we urge you to stop doing that. But you do not feel like it is all on you to change your life through muscle and grit and determination. And while there is a time and place for those things, and we recommend those in the appropriate times and places, what if you could allow ease and good luck? Ease is a topic we harp on quite often because that energy could help you a lot as well. And the possibility for it is here and opening wider. Even if the world seems in turmoil in the physical, or in the lower vibrations on the earth, the 3D, if you will, if you use that terminology. You can be, to use this terminology again, in the 5D plus with more flow, with more ease, and opening that energy for the rest of the earth by you being yourself, having ease, creating good luck, creating flow, creating success. It is not selfish to have these good things for yourself. Many of you think it is so, or that programming is there from society that tells you you must suffer as if everyone else is suffering. You can't leave the dinner table if everyone has not finished their food. You have to eat what's on your plate and you can't change it. We are not trying to denigrate parents who are just trying to do their best in getting you to eat food and be nourished as a child, or just doing their best to survive after a long day's work and put food on the table. We're not trying to blame them for your issues, perhaps in having ease, or your issues in you thinking you need to suffer if anyone else is. But we are trying to tell you it's not really serving the collective for you to suffer or struggle along with everyone else, or have bad luck, as it were, or have things going wrong. If that is happening, that's just part of your path at the moment. You're working through that. You're growing through that. Life is trying to show you something through that or grow you through that. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't beat up on yourself. Don't judge yourself. But if you can have ease and success and good luck, good fortune, things going your way, energies you like, a life you desire, why not? Why should you have to tone that down for anyone? When you having good things brings good things to the world in an as above, so below stance. If you think of yourself as part of the world, you having good things can bring good things to others energetically, whether it looks exactly like you're having good things or not. And we are not telling you you need to be a billionaire and hoard wealth and keep things away from other people. Not all billionaires are doing that, by the way. Of course, we would advocate for a fair distribution for the highest good of all, and we are not advocating communism with that, or any of your political structures, for something new needs to birth on the earth for the highest good of all. And if your politicians approach the world with the concept, with the intention in mind of what would be for the highest good of all, the world would look drastically different than it ever has. And that is really what we are urging you to with this message, this go around. You operating from that place, as well as everything else we have talked about. Because again, as you operate from that place, it opens the door for others to do that as well and sets the example for others. And as good things flow to you because you are operating in a place of what is for the highest good of all, and we will not promise you will instantly be in the best place ever with that as your intention. There are, of course, people who have that as their intention and framework who struggle or go through a challenge or a lesson so they can be brought to a higher place in themselves. It does not inoculate them from the struggles of life. But it does, in some instances, save them from certain lower energies, or if you would like to use the word karma that might hit other people a little bit harder. The universe might give them more of a break in certain circumstances, and they will manifest what's for the highest good in all their endeavors, at least eventually in their life. Even if in the first, if we were to use a sports game analogy, in the first half, they didn't get everything they wanted. Because sometimes what one wants is not what's for the highest good. Sometimes it is. But what's for the highest good is so much better in the long term. If you will play the long game with this what's for the highest good perspective or approach. If what was the highest and best option, or what was for the highest good for as a structure, a political structure, a way the earth worked as far as human endeavors, showed up tomorrow, there would be quite a lot of destruction. It might not be pretty, but things are headed that direction at the proper pace. We're not saying, everything on the earth right now is pretty and butterflies and rainbows and beautiful and in the highest good in that ways. But it is headed that direction over time, at least towards what's for the highest good. So what's for the highest good now might be some destruction, might be some things falling apart. It might be some of those things that metaphorically the person who is manifesting what's for the highest good might not want to see as they ask for it. But that is changing. You are quickly elevating, at least you personally, out of some of the things that are not for the highest good, and out of the things that are for the highest good that are a bit more destructive and what you would not like to see. And you are moving towards, personally, more that's for the highest good that you would like to see, this collective. At least in the next year. So again, there might still be some shifts and changes that are not pretty, but it's leading to a good place. And eventually you have all good energies around you because your intentions are pure and you're doing your best. Now, are you ready to come from that place? Most of you are. Some of you are struggling with this concept. You might even be thinking, what does that even mean? We will give you a perspective, tell you our perspective. What would be for the highest good as far as what God sees in all-knowing, infinite, unlimited, infinitely wise, infinitely intelligent, infinitely compassionate, if you will use the term unconditionally loving God, source, universe? What would that see is for the highest good? From that perspective, that is what we mean by highest good. Highest good does not mean what one person thinks would be good for another, but what would actually be, from an all-knowing perspective and an infinite wisdom perspective, what would be for the highest good. So when you are manifesting and using that term, you can use that as the intention behind that term as you create. And that might help you create more along those lines or give you a better detail or perspective on using that terminology in your creations and your manifesting in your day-to-day. And of course, many Reiki teachings or energy healing teachings or modalities speak of this term using the highest good. So many of you are familiar and you have that down, but we are speaking to the rest of you who might be more unfamiliar or who may have stumbled upon this and are simply interested in what we are saying or what's going on here. And those of you could even see this as a clue for what the best directions for you would be, this highest good thing. Even if you do not get it cognitively right away, but you will. And some of you are thinking, what's not to get? Patience. We will get to more. But again, you operating from this place of what would be for the highest good in your manifestations, in your intentions, and how you show up in the day-to-day begins to bring that energy to everything and begins to transform everything. And as you are aligned with Source, with what's for the highest good, with Spirit, you become more powerful more energetically potent, especially if you're working on that component through energy healing or practicing your manifesting, practicing channeling, practicing your magic and creating shifts in the world on that level. You can boost your potency. You can manifest it. You can work on it. But if it's aligned with what's for the highest good, with source, with spirit, that gets magnified times 10. And you do not have to take that multiplication literally, but you understand what we mean. Greatly magnified. Because then you are creating what's for the highest good of the world, and then spirit can work with you instead of tugging against you as you try to control things or make things work out in your favor when it would not favor the all, if that makes sense. And sometimes spirit will throw you a bone without harming others, let you have something that you desire, of course. And there's nothing wrong with this as well. You are meant to live out and play with your desires and manifest with them and create a life you would like to see and shift things in that way. There's nothing wrong with this at all. Sometimes spirit will throw you a bone if it's not necessarily aligned, but it would bring you joy. It would bring you passion. It would teach you something or help you learn why maybe that direction is not the best. An example Brandon could give you is a time he was guided to drink a soda, and it made him more sick. And he asked us, "Why did you have me do that?" And we said, "So you'd never do it again." And we're not saying every bone spirit throws you will be like that at all. Sometimes it's just for fun. Sometimes you're meant to enjoy your life. But the key takeaway is that as you are more aligned and operating for the highest good, things can begin to go your way that much more, a bit more. It might not always be the way your ego wants it to go, but it will be going your way on a soul level, on a soul mission level, on a heart's level, on a true desires level. Your true desires, your true dreams on a soul level, on a heart level. And by heart, we do not mean emotions. We mean the physical, all-knowing, intuitive heart center. That part of you that is part of your all-knowingness. And yes, you can tap into that. There's a knowing that is within each of you. You can know anything, and sometimes you might not feel as connected to that, and that's okay. We would say there's a reason. There's a reason it's like that. You do not need to freak out. But we will not take away from the possibility of you knowing. And again, do not beat up on yourself if you have trouble with it one day or hour or minute or what have you. You're not meant to always be in knowing in the way that it ruins your life, if that makes sense, or takes away from certain surprises that spirit might want to bring you. But you can be in knowing all of the time, at least to a certain degree, in a way that benefits you and the collective, should it be in the highest good. That phrase again. But again, as you work in ways that are for the highest good, things start to go your way long term. You have more good luck because you are working with spirits, working with the flow, working with the all. You are not necessarily taking, but you are receiving for the highest good what you're meant to. And there's enough for everyone. There always is. Sometimes mistakenly, and it is how some of you are trained, or how society trains you to see it, or even the government or school. You might be trained to look out at someone who has something and think that because they have it, you don't or can't, and it's their fault. But there's enough. If you wanted to create $1 billion business, you could. It might take some blatant and great rearranging on your part and how you operate and who you are in the world, but it could be done. Is it for the highest good? For some of you, yes. The answer would be yes. Some of you others of you would be greatly unsatisfied with that as your sole focus. We're not saying one cannot have that amount of money and not be connected, or be connected rather, or have spiritual abundance in addition to that physical or financial abundance. You can have both. However, there are other things that are more important to you, such as magic and living a life in tune, having beautiful friendships, getting out in nature. The money would be a bonus, but it wouldn't be happiness for you. And for some of you, money would bring you joy. We will not lie. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing lesser. It is simply, how are you designed? Where are you operating from? What speaks to you? What does your soul crave? What is that experience giving you on a soul level? Beyond all the human judgments, good or bad, or more spiritual, less spiritual. Who cares? Do what your soul calls you to do, as long as it's for the highest good. Don't let the human judgments stop you. And why are we on these notes? And why do we keep running back and forth with them? Hitting these different points. Some of you just need a little bit of a bop on the head. To get out of your own way. To let spirit flow through you more for the highest good. And by spirit, we do not mean random spirits or anything like that, but source, God, the divine, if you will. Not that many of you needed that correction. Some of you it helped. And again, try not to judge yourself as higher or lower for being in either of those parties. It's just where you are at. But we're trying to give you the bop on your head to move you out of your own way and allow the flow of spirit to return to your life more greatly or to be enhanced for you. Because that can be a part of good luck. It's greater spirits in you, greater amounts of spirit in you, greater amounts of spirits in your life, flowing things towards what's for the highest good and total alignment. And you can have both, of course. That energy of good luck, that alignment with spirit, that flowing towards what's for the highest good, that flowing towards the highest and best, lightest and brightest. Which, why don't we have you feel into that while we're at it? What would be the highest and best, lightest, brightest timeline for you? Just ask source, ask for that energy. What would that be like? What would that feel like? With all the good luck, with all that would be for the highest good, with all the alignment with spirits totally guiding my life, should it be in the highest good? What would that be like? And if you would like to add anything else to that, you can. What would the highest and best, brightest, lightest timeline be like, feel like? Get that energy now. Some of you are flying high. Some of you are a little bit scared because it feels different than you expected. No need to worry. It would be much more positive than you realize based on the energy you might feel a little bit scared of. It's just something you are unfamiliar with, so do not worry. Now you can say, Spirit, Source, God, whichever you prefer. I ask for this. I ask for this highest and best, brightest, lightest timeline. I ask for my life to be upshifted. You never have to be worried when you're working with Source like this or in any other way. Yet sometimes things might work out in a way you did not want per se, because there's something else in store for you that is for the highest good. However, it is always worth the journey. It is always worth seeing what's for the highest good. If you did not per se get that person, that job promotion, that thing you craved, because there is something that would satisfy that itch even better. and that would get you on your soul mission. So try not to limit spirit and what can show up for you as you work in this aligned way. And yes, some of you are there. You did not need this speech. However, the energies will still be beneficial for you. As you're asking for that highest and best timeline through that exercise, it can show up. You might notice shifts in your life. You might notice that energy that you felt as you felt into it showing up more. That is a good direction to go. And so now you have the opportunity to get there. Not that you didn't before this, but it is much more prevalent in your asks if you were not already asking for it. It is much more prevalent in your awareness what that would be like, so you can step towards it. A lot of this message, what it has been doing, as we've said, is stepping you out of your own way and allowing spirit through more, bringing more spirit to you. Because spirit can sort things out from there. So we will end it here. We have hit the points we needed to hit. We have brought the energies we needed to bring. We have brought the healing we needed to bring. We have brought the energetic packets and codes that will help you shift in the highest and best ways regarding this topic and regarding your lives as they are right now. So what would be for the highest good regarding all that? We leave you there. May the highest and best to transpire, transpire. Farewell for now. We are signing out. Take care. Whew. As always, I hope that was helpful. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. You're welcome. I love all the excitement. You are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome. You're so welcome, Mylin. You guys are so welcome. Yeah, I'm pretty hungry now. So good. Awesome. So I appreciate the heck out of you guys. I'm so glad this has been, of course, good for you. And not that I ever expect it to be different necessarily, but I still appreciate it. I do feel like, not that the channeling was ever bad, I do feel like it has kept getting better though. So I'm excited to see where it keeps going forward. Amazing energy. Well, perfect. Definitely a big part of it and part of the aim. Not that I'm really always fully there for that, but you know. So Renee Cross asks, can we get a personal channeling messages? Not right now. I'm sorry. Maybe in the future I'll open that up more. I have kind of closed my scheduler to one-on-one readings right now. I just need to focus on other things and other aspects. Thank you. Have an incredible, nourishing meal. Thank you. I will. You are so welcome. You are so welcome, Kishay. It's such an honor to be able to do this. I so appreciate getting to do this and that you guys are here receiving what's for the highest good for you to receive from it. And it's such an honor. Thank you. The healing energy was strong. So strong. Perfect. You're so welcome. I'm so glad to hear it. Yeah. I do, back on what I was saying, I do have other offers I'm coming out with. Some of you have already seen that. I'll get into that in a bit. You're so welcome. No, I appreciate and love you too. The collectives are so connecting. Perfect. Yeah, Nicole Mouse, the cat. That means a lot. Thank you. First time passing through, been tuned in for an hour or more now. That was great. So glad to hear it. And thanks for, I'm glad it was good. I think that was Ren Greenstein. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly, but I'm so glad to hear it. You are so welcome. It's my business, 777. Much love to you too, Caitlin Lawson. Awesome. I mean, some of you might have already noticed. I mean, I do have some other offers that are available, of course. You know, I have the red package just came out, which is 3 MP3s. It's a longer full channel mode, like the one we just did kind of message, but it's like an hour. And it's 3 MP3s geared towards healing and shifting the root chakra, fully for the highest good. I know I posted a bit about that already. And I mean, if you wanted that, if you're interested in that, that's on sale. I think if you join the mailing list, you get a $10 off link, or if you join I do have a monthly membership. If you join that, you get bigger discounts than that. So, I mean, I know I'm jumping into slight promotion mode here, but I do have those if you're interested. I'm looking at continuing to do that, of course, like just kind of more energetic packages like that. So it's a channel message, a channel guided meditation, and then something new, which is it's like a channeled audio energy healing session is what I call it. And it's interesting because the channeling already has like the energetic transmission, but the audio energy healing sessions are more like spoken word energy healing. So it's, you know, like you can get any energy from source. So it's like asking Reiki to flow from source to you. And it's kind of facilitating energy work through the spoken word for a good 30 minutes or so. So if you're interested, that's available through my website or link in bio. And beyond that, what else do I have available right now? Going through the verbal bulletin board, I guess I have a book that's supposed to help with channeling. It's called Spirit Guides, Angels, and Spirit Guides, Angels, and Speaking with Source. I can't even remember the title of the book. But that is like just a few channeled chapters on getting connected and channeling, and it has a good energy to it for helping with that. So that's a possibility if you're interested in that. And I do have a few energy work classes coming up here. They don't want me to talk about those right now. So, I guess anything else I'm missing? I am starting to do channeling classes. I don't have one available up right now, but I should be posting it up soon if anyone's interested in that. But yeah, I think that's what I have going on they'd like me to talk about here right now. So highly, highly recommend the membership to anyone who resonates with Brandon's work. Thank you so much, Andy Pandy Pie. I so appreciate the shout outs. And I know you mean it too. I know you're not just saying it. So thank you. And that honestly means so much. What you just said there too. Thank you. And that's what I like to hear, because I would absolutely hate to feel like I was just taking from people for nothing. So appreciate that, to hear it and for the feedback. Thank you. But I might hang out for a bit longer. I might do some Reiki infused guitar as well, maybe today, but I feel like full disclosure, I feel like I need to cut my fingernails. Sometimes they're not like super long, but they kind of get long enough that it's more difficult to play, and it's weird to be put on the spot and play with that. So we'll see what they'd like me to do with that. But beyond that, like with the readings and the channel messages, I think that's most of what's going to be done today. So first timer, this was amazing. Thank you. You're so welcome, Jen. I'm so glad to hear it was good. And that's awesome to hear that as well, that perspective from people who are just joining in for the first time. So thank you for letting me know. And I so appreciate you showing up. I'm so glad you liked it. Awesome. And a guitarist. No wonder I stuck around. Well, I'm a little bit, I don't want to say I'm out of practice, but I could practice more is what I'll say. So I'm going to I know this isn't like good for viewership, but in some ways I almost don't care, because we kind of got through a lot of the main portion of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take like a couple second interlude, and I'm going to cut my fingernails and grab the guitar, and we'll do some of that. So it might take like a good 2, 3, 4 minutes for me to get back here, but I'm just gonna like write interlude on the whiteboard so people know what's going on, and whoever sticks around, awesome. We'll do that, and anyone who feels called to leave or has other things to do, so appreciate you showing up. I hope you have a beautiful week and a beautiful rest of your day, and so appreciate you being here and getting to channel for you. So give me one moment. still working on my whiteboard writing skills, so that might be a little messy, but okay. I need a bigger whiteboard. I know, I just need like a wall. Okay, well, hopefully that's legible enough. I'll be right back, guys. So see you soon. Okay. Hello, everybody. Yeah, so so as far as like a set schedule for my lives, I tend to do these every Sunday. I traditionally have been doing them around like 11:30 to 12 p.m. recently, but I think I actually might end up, I haven't set it in stone yet, but I might push it back and start doing the lives at like 1 or 2 p.m. every Sunday. Honestly, because of my sleep schedule, and I just naturally gravitate towards being a night owl. And I still get a lot done because I just prefer nighttime, I guess. And it's been harder to maintain certain things earlier on throughout the week, honestly, which is kind of, maybe it sounds a little bit silly, but I just think my circadian rhythm just gravitates towards night owldom, and I don't know what to do besides honor that right now. So, but otherwise, I go live every Sunday. Oh, and by the way, now that I just mentioned, or just saw, excuse me, Earth Angel say 444 say tap the screen. First of all, thank you. You like more at 1, 2 p.m. Perfect. Night sessions would be super cool. Maybe I should just do that. I mean, right now it might be difficult because I have neighbors, but if I move anytime soon to a situation that is more accommodating, I definitely will do that because that would just be better on me too, I think, in some ways. So we'll definitely sit with that possibility on the night sessions here. The other message, I wanted to say thank you for anyone who's been tapping the screen or who gifted, and I didn't mention it or notice it because we're at like 110,000 likes, which is super crazy good. I think so I know you guys have been tapping, so thank you. I don't really explicitly ask you to either, so I know you're just doing it because it's cool and good. Maybe you're just doing it because you like the live, or it's to support me, and I so appreciate that, and I think that's super cool, and never feel obligated, but thank you. I want to say thank you to those who did. So all that out of the way, so with the Reiki guitar, I feel like I'll explain it just for a second here. What I do is, I'm going to sit and set my intentions. There's a couple different ways angles I hit it from. I work with the Reiki symbols or other energy healing symbols that are for the highest good for me to work with, that I'm guided to work with. And a couple things. It is flowing through me and kind of infusing with the music, but what's the best way to say this here? Because I want to explain it the way I typically would, but they're kind of telling me maybe there's a better way to explain it. pretty much I used a number of different methods to infuse the music with Reiki, and it's flowing along with the sounds to you guys. And I think it's also just flowing as well. So probably both. So we're just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna let it be what it is. And if that explanation was wrong, I'm sorry. But here we go. So give me like 2 seconds just to kind of draw out some Reiki symbols and set some intentions, and we will get started here. So I'm just going to set a few more intentions. I'm just going to ask that, of course, Reiki only flows for the highest good. It does only what's for the highest good for it to do, just does whatever would be for each of your highest good respectively, and only goes where it's needed or would be for the highest good for it to go. Thank you so much. So, okay, here we go. So I'm going to take a second to get going, and then we'll just launch into either just some songs or they might have me improvise. We'll see what happens. So hope this is great for you. You can just sit back and set the intention to receive what's for that's good for you to receive, and Reiki's flowing, and let's go. Okay. Whew. I'm going to close it there. So, fully for that's good. I said any Reiki that flowed and that was here for this session continues to work only for the highest good for only however long would be for the highest good until any shifts and changes that are for the highest good to be completed are completed. And I ask that the session is now closed. That's true angels of the true highest light. Wrap it up in whatever ways to be for the highest good. And just gonna ask that only what's for the highest good comes about from that now and in the future. Thank you so much. So, thank you. I hope that was cool for you guys. You're so welcome. I'm glad it was good. I know I might have had some musical hiccups towards the middle of that, but we don't talk about that. We're supposed to just play it off like we did it perfectly. But you guys are welcome. So yeah, I guess that's the live. Perfect, Earth Angel 444. Exactly what I like to hear for that. That or better, of course, but you're so welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you guys. You're welcome. Okay, I need to end the live and probably go eat something or something. So I so appreciate, I hope you got the best out of, whatever was for that good for you to get out of that. Out of that, I'm wishing you all so very well. And I, again, appreciate getting to do this and that you guys are here. As soon as I started, I resonated and whipped my head around in astonishment, like, whoa, wow, thank you. I appreciate that compliment. You guys enjoy the rest of your day too, and may what's for the highest good to transpire, and of course, just wishing the highest and best for all of us, you, me, everyone, I guess, in the world, should it be in the highest good. And I will probably take it easy the rest of the day, but we'll see. You guys take care, okay?